here, day 2 of the Lori Vallow trial. She's having her second trial in Arizona. She is accused of murdering and plotting to murder her husband at the time, Charles Vallow. It was the theory that her and her brother, who was alive at the time, Alex Cox, conspired together to have Charles Vallow killed. That way, Lori can collect his $1 million life insurance money, the Social Security money that he was getting for his son JJ at the time, who was a special needs child. And she was hoping to take all that, run away with Chad Daybell, who was convicted, by the way. Chad Daybell was convicted, and she was hoping to start a new life with him. And then subsequently, after Charles's Vallow death, well, you guys know what happened afterwards. She murdered her 2 children. She murdered JJ, the special needs child who was around, I think JJ was like so young, like 7, 8, 9. And then Tylee, who I believe was 17 years old at the time. So Lori Vallow is representing herself, and we are here with the popcorn and here for the shit show, I guess. Oh boy. So I do want to start off with saying that Lori Vallow did her opening statements yesterday, and it was very redundant. And just to give you guys a little bit of a preview of Lori Vallow's opening statement, I think maybe she tried to mirror off what the state prosecutor was doing with the evidence in this case will show. So let's get to the state prosecutor. Let's listen to her.
Ladies and gentlemen, the evidence in this case is going to show you that Lori Vallow, Daybell, conspired with her brother, Alex Cox.
So that's the state prosecutor who is trying this case. And here is Lori Vallow, where she, well, basically tell the jury, the evidence will show that I was married to Charles Vallow. The evidence will show that I am the mother of JJ and Tylee. The evidence will show that, well, let's see what she says. I'll let her speak.
The evidence will show that Charles was a licensed life insurance salesman and worked as an independent contractor, selling life insurance policies and annuities, and owned his own business.
Okay.
The evidence will show that Tylee was 3 years old when Charles and I got married, and that the evidence will show that in April of 2018, Tylee's biological father passed away. The evidence will show that in March of 2019, Charles pulled JJ out of his special school, and the evidence will show that Charles and I agreed it was in JJ's best interest to be in school where more services were available to him. The evidence will show that Charles insisted on flying into Phoenix on July 10th, as we've heard from the state. The evidence will show that I advised Charles that he could not stay with us at the Chandler house because he could not get along with Tylee, and I did not want. The evidence will also show you that Lauren's Life Academy opens its gates at 8. The evidence will show that after we put JJ in the rental car, that Charles came back into the residence.
I think it was heard 72 times. Yeah, there's a counter up here, 77 at the top, but there were some from the comments in the below. I think 4 of them maybe, or 5 of them. So she probably said it over 70 times. Now, initially, when we're listening to the opening statements, I thought she was going to stop at some point. No, she uses that phrase the entirety of her opening statement. Boy, Lori Vallow. But, you know, we do get a little bit of insight of what was going on in the courtroom because the microphones don't pick up everything. This is an interview that I was listening to earlier this morning. Oh, actually, hold on a second. I do want to get to the frustration part. So, yesterday when we were watching, Lori Vallow does get frustrated a little bit because she's trying to come off as someone who's like composed, as someone who knows what she's doing. She's like, hey, look at me. You know, I have no legal background, but look at me. I'm representing myself. There was a struggle with Lori Vallow and the hearsay rules.
A real blind spot when it came to the rules of hearsay, which is literally things that other people say that are overheard. Right? These are things that are generally not allowed in a courtroom. There are exceptions, but it's tricky. Any
Hearsay,
That's
improper
hearsay.
question.
Hearsay.
Oh, I was just reading the case report. Okay.
Then objection, no question.
Please ask your next question.
You said in your report that at one point Alex's niece grabbed the bat.
Objection.
Hold on.
Hearsay,
That's
improper
hearsay.
question.
Okay, you can't ask hearsay.
Did Alex tell you that he got hit in the head with the bat?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay, prior ruling.
Yeah, it's sustained. You can't ask questions of what Alex said.
But they were trying to.
Now, tell me this. If you're a jury and you're told that this trial is going to take 6 weeks of your fucking life, and you're starting to realize, I wonder if it's going to take 6 weeks because this person doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. And really, It's just taking longer because Lori doesn't understand the rules of the courtroom. You're probably going to start getting really frustrated with her. There was someone who was in the courtroom. I think it was Lori Vallow's cousin, who said that Lori was getting really frustrated at some things, and apparently maybe the microphone didn't pick it up because I didn't hear it. I don't know if you guys heard it, but I don't think I heard it. Let me see if I can find it really quick.
Kind of on the right side of her, so I could see, she would shake her head and kind of,
Oh, actually, no, sorry. This is not the cousin. I think the cousin comes on later on. Sorry, this is not the cousin. She's just an observer in the courtroom. Maybe she works with News Nation.
yeah, so I actually was kind of on the right side of her, so I could see, she would shake her head and kind of, look down, scribble furiously onto her legal pad at one point.
Dear manager. Whenever I hear people scribbling furiously on a notepad, I always think of white chicks. Dear manager.
When the prosecutor said that the jury was going to hear that she was crushing up JJ's pills to drug Charles, she flipped her yellow legal pad over and slammed it. And I'm not sure if the court audio picked that up, but it was really loud in court.
I didn't hear it. I don't know if you guys heard it. I didn't hear it. I remember being shocked about hearing the crushing JJ's pills and putting in Charles's, I think like smoothies or something like that. But I don't remember hearing a slamming.
And I'm not sure if the court audio picked that up, but it was really loud in court. And, if the jury sees that, they see her demeanor, they're going to start wondering what's going on. Why is she making faces during the prosecutor's opening statement?
Not only
I wonder if they're thinking like, oh, maybe she's like really unhinged. Anyway, so I was listening to News Nation this morning. So there's a video there if you guys want to watch it for yourself. And we're going to jump over to Lori Vallow. Oh, I do want to say this, though. The thing that I really can't stand about, it's Lori Vallow representing herself. But what I really hate is that Lori is trying to use her children in this trial to show the jury that I love my children, I care about them, and oh my God, Charles was the bad guy. So, for example, Charles was supposed to come pick up JJ in the early morning, drop him off at school. Charles put JJ into the car, but the reason why Charles couldn't leave is because Lori even admitted that she took Charles's phone and wouldn't give it back to him. And so Lori's like, oh my God, Charles left JJ in the car. And it's Arizona. It's probably really hot, even though it's in the morning, but it's Arizona. It gets hot, okay? She's like, oh my God, Charles left JJ in the running car. And this is a theme that she kept saying probably about like 2 or 3 times in the opening statement, I think, to make it seem like she actually gives a shit about JJ. And it's so disgusting to me and probably to all of you guys that she's using her children in order to try to get out of this murder trial, in order to show the jury that I love my children. But I do want to know, I do wonder whether or not if Lori, because she's representing herself, if she's going to accidentally open the doors to her previous murder trial. She can't because, right now the state can't use it against her because it'd be way too prejudicial if the jury found out that she previously murdered her 2 children. But I don't know, if you're representing yourself, what if you accidentally fuck up and you actually accidentally open the door to, oh, by the way, I might have accidentally murdered my 2 other children, but it wasn't me. I didn't do it. It was a family trauma. What are you talking about? I had nothing to do with it. And then she'll probably just try to blame it on the brother. But I don't know. It'd be kind of interesting if that happens. But this is one of the statements that I was talking about.
The evidence will show that JJ was still in the front seat of the rental car with the engine running and struggling to get out of the car. Tylee was trying to keep him in.
So she kept mentioning that. And like I said, I think she's trying to paint a picture that Charles is a bad person for leaving JJ in the car. But why was JJ in the car? It's because you took Charles's phone. And Charles left the car running. I'm sure the AC was running. I don't know, Lori, if it was you, you probably wouldn't even have the AC on. I don't know if you even gave a shit about your children. All you cared about was fucking Chad Daybell being a fucking goddess. So anyways, when I'm watching this trial, it's going to be different than watching other trials because usually with other trials, I'm like, okay, let's give them benefit of the doubt, like let's hear them out. Let's see what happens. Let's see what's going to, how this is going to go down. But with Lori Vallow, there's just something about her that just triggers the shit out of me. So I don't have a lot of patience for her. Anyway, so let's get into day 2 of the trial. I think there are some questionings happening with juror number 16. I don't know what happened, but I think the juror yesterday that was having issues with the employer, they were ultimately, I think, dismissed. So that's one juror down that's no longer serving on day one trial. I don't know what's going on juror number 16, but maybe we can look at some tweets and maybe people in the courtroom can tell us. But there was no audio questioning of that. Yesterday, they ended with I think witness number 3, he is a firefighter paramedic who was testifying in the stand. However, when the state was doing the direct examination of him, the type of questioning that the state was doing leads me to believe that Lori Vallow is going to try to say, hey, you paramedics, you firefighters, you guys were, is it possible that you guys were negligent? Is it possible that you guys didn't treat Charles, correctly? Is it possible that you guys could have led to maybe Charles dying? I don't know. I think that was the angle that Lori was going with because of the questioning that the state was asking to the witness. So that's where we're at right now. Witness number 3, paramedic firefighter. I don't know what his name is, though. All right, and the audio should be kicking in soon. And hi, everyone. Oh, let me take a second. Hi, everyone. How are you guys doing today? Hey, Taxi, Marie, Kay, hello. Michael Pickle, here we go. Hey, Mandark, good to see you. Spring, Sarah, Tuco, hello, hello. Mandy, I'm glad I caught this live stream. It's been a while. I've been here for 1 minute. I'm already annoyed by Lori's voice. Yeah, Lori. I think people are annoyed by Lori's voice is because Lori kind of reminds me of Jodi Arias a little bit, or sometimes Sarah Boone too, where they kind of try to use the baby voice to manipulate people. Oh, I do want to mention this though. Sorry, because I did want to segue to her cousin. Her cousin did say that, Lori Vallow, knowing Lori while growing up, Lori would also kind of do this like manipulation thing, it seems. So it seems like, this was already something that was ongoing before she met Chad Daybell. Anyways, Jenny, thank you so much for the resub for 82 months. Hello, hello. What's the court stuff for? She is on trial for the murder and the conspiracy of her husband at the time. However, she is representing herself. She is batshit crazy. Can you imagine what Suitcase Sarah's opening statements would have been? I mean, Kay, we saw the letter that she wrote to the judge. Remember how in her sentencing where she gave a speech? I think it was in sentencing. Yeah, it was in sentencing. She gave a speech. However, she kept saying that, like, oh, this is not my entire speech. Mr. Owens made me redact some of this or made it shorter. And then when we got the full, like, scorch earth Sarah Boone letter, everything that she wanted to say to the victims, to the world, to everyone around her, her opening statement would have been probably just as unhinged. Yeah, and it's crazy because I do want to mention this, that when you listen to the state's opening statement, you're like, how the fuck did law enforcement, or how was it ruled as self-defense? They're talking about the trajectory, how one of the bullets was found in the ground and how one of the trajectory was really odd. And it looks like, the guy was shot while he was already down. And that the story was inconsistent, that Alex Cox didn't have severe injuries, or the bat was found right-handed, but Charles Vallow was a professional baseball player and he bats and pitches left-handed. I don't know. Maybe the law enforcement, maybe they wanted to go after Lori Vallow and Lori Vallow and Alex Cox, but maybe the prosecutor didn't think they had enough to prosecute and go after them. I don't know, because we're wondering why the hell did it take so long. Hey, Hugo, how are you doing today? Kelly, hi, Diane. How's it going? Hello, hello. What's happening in court? Lori Vallow is representing herself. We're here in day 2. And I think she's going to try to go after the paramedics and say that, like, hey, you didn't do your job properly. And maybe because of you guys, maybe Charles died. Maybe he could have been saved. I don't know. I'm just guessing here because of what the state was asking the witness yesterday. All right. So the audio should be kicking in soon. If you guys missed any of the recap, go back to the beginning of the stream, and I recommend you guys, it's easier to rewind back on YouTube. On Twitch, I don't think they've fixed their player yet.
What?
Walked into the house, proceeded forward, saw a patient on the floor to the right, proceeded to the patient to start an assessment and evaluation.
And then Captain Keller had already come in.
I'm pretty confident, yes, he would have been quicker getting off the truck and inside.
And so you did your assessment, and then what?
My assessment revealed that he was unresponsive, no pulse, no breathing, so I would have started CPR, started chest compressions.
Did you do that with his shirt on?
I would have lifted that out of the way so I could find the proper landmarks.
So you had said that you saw that there was, let's see, 2 gunshot wounds, is that correct?
Yes.
And then you saw that through the shirt? Or how did you assess that when you first entered? That's my question.
Once I'm doing CPR, I can see 2 bullet holes in the shirt. I can see that on the chest and on the abdomen. I can see the wounds as I'm looking at the chest and doing chest compressions.
Okay. And then he had on what color shirt?
I wouldn't have recalled other than, I guess, the video yesterday. I think it was a dark colored shirt, I think we
Does the color shirt matter?
saw on the screen.
And so you had talked yesterday about the blood being more blood on chest, not pooled around your knees, right?
Maybe the shirt color was so dark that it was so hard to see where the blood was pooling, maybe?
Is that correct?
Correct.
And so with the dark shirt, was it hard to see the blood? I'm kind of trying to see what you saw when you entered.
I remember seeing blood on the chest. It wasn't, I remember not seeing blood on the abdomen.
And there were holes in the shirt, 2 holes in the front side?
I would, that's my call, yes.
Okay. And when did you cut off the shirt and how does that procedure work?
I continued doing CPR, chest compressions. One of my other colleagues would have cut that off. And knowing that the shirt maybe is potentially evidence, that's why I said to her, don't cut through where the holes are. So she could have cut down the side instead of on the top of the body.
And do you use like a special scissors or something for that?
Yeah, we have some trauma shears in our equipment.
Okay. And who was that? Was that Phelps or?
I believe that was firefighter Kaczynski.
Okay. Kaczynski, that's one I didn't have. So who all was sitting there with you that was on scene at that time?
Firefighter Fife would have been there. Firefighter Kaczynski, the 3 of us, kind of like we saw in the video or like the picture yesterday. All 3 of us around the patient, while Captain Keller was standing back a little bit, like you saw in the picture.
Okay. You said that you had been a CPR instructor for 12 years. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And was that for the last 12 years or 12 years ago?
Approximate dates 2004 to 2016, let's say.
Okay. And so have you taught people who have,
I will say, though, I will try to give her some patience and some leeway in her line of questioning because maybe she's building up towards something. That or she's stalling and she's making it seem like she's doing lawyerly things. I don't know.
never done CPR before?
Have I taught those? Yes,
Right. And not just like people renewing their certification, but both.
correct.
Okay. How many people would you say that you've taught that have never done CPR before?
Never done CPR, and it's probably in the hundreds over that long of doing that.
So you'd be familiar with how a first timer would react?
Yeah, you try to forewarn them what to expect.
Okay. So these first timers, they have to be taught the appropriate place to place their hands. Would that be fair?
That is part of the course, yes.
And so,
Oh, okay. So we have some details on the jury drama. Okay, I found it. Shout out to Nate Eaton tweeting these out. Boreski, who is a judge, says based on the sidebar, juror number 4 is excused. Was that the juror yesterday? Or was that no? Juror number 3 was yesterday, right? Damn, how many jurors are we excusing? We have 2 alternates remaining. Juror 16 will be brought in for individual questioning. There will be no media recording the questioning. That's the part that was silent and we weren't able to hear anything. Juror 16 is in the courtroom. He told the court staff that he may have seen a video related to the case on YouTube in the past. Judge asked if he has specific memories of being shown in the video or what was in the video. He didn't do any research on the video and was shown it from a friend on YouTube. That's all that he remembers. Why was this not brought up in voir dire? Maybe he just remembered by seeing like Lori's face or something, or hearing her voice. When the video was shown in court today or yesterday, the juror was reminded of the video. Oh, okay. When the video was shown in court yesterday, the juror was reminded of the video. Trina Kay, that's a prosecutor, asked the juror if he recalls any of the audio from the video when he watched it outside of the court. The juror does not remember. Yesterday, very little audio was played in court. Boreski, the judge, asked if the video was suggested on YouTube. The juror says it was an algorithm type of thing. Trina has no follow-up questions. Lori has no questions. Judge tells the juror to go back into the juror room. Boreski says he's inclined to keep the juror on the jury as he doesn't have independent or additional memory of the video. Trina Kay agrees to keeping him. Lori has no objection. The juror remains. All right. That was the jury drama that was happening.
do you show them or do you just tell them in class where to put their hands?
It's a video-based system through American Heart. There's a curriculum that we would have been following.
Okay. So if you could only tell them, like over the phone, that might be difficult for them to know the correct placement of their hands if they've never done it before.
I guess it depends on the instructions that the dispatcher gave. Ultimately, if I was telling somebody over the phone, you want to put your hands on their chest, on the lower part of the chest. It's that kind of simple, so to speak.
Okay? But without the video, if you were teaching a class and you didn't have the video, it might be difficult, right? For a bunch of first timers?
Objection, speculation.
Overruled. You can answer.
Is me an answer? Okay. Sorry. Can you repeat the question then?
Yeah, so it might be difficult. If you didn't have the video, it might be difficult, you know, for a bunch of first timers to know exactly what to do if you just had to tell them middle of the chest, lower chest.
I mean, you could obviously show on a person. You could show on yourself.
If you couldn't show them and you could only tell them, could it be difficult?
I suppose it's possible depending on the person.
Okay, that's fair. So do you think that your CPR class would be fairly successful if you had no visuals?
Objection, relevance, speculation.
Can we get more objection relevance?
Next question.
I got it, Your Honor. So if a person had never done it before and was just told how to do it, is it possible that they might not be acquainted with where to put their hands?
It's possible.
And it would also be possible that they might not do it properly.
That could be possible too.
And right now, when you're teaching CPR, and I didn't say you are teaching right now, but if you're teaching a class, are they just doing percussions now? There's no breathing in the mouth, is that correct?
It's going to depend on the level of the class. As far as the lay rescuer, people that have never done it before that just want to have the training, it's evolved and we're teaching compression only. That is a form of CPR now also, just doing chest compressions.
And how long do you teach to do that for? How long of a period before you take a rest? Or
Well, it varies depending on if the patient is an adult or a child. There are different guidelines that American Heart offers. So in those courses, they're getting to learn information for adults and children and infants also.
Correct, right. So for an adult, how long, like 30, 100, 150? It's been a while, so just wondering.
With an adult, they're also taught they need to call for help right away also. So that's a factor. Are they alone? Is somebody else able to call? Can they call, put the phone on speaker, start, while talking to 911? And then they would just keep going until help arrives.
So there's no timing, like you take a 10-second break, you just do compressions?
Not for that type of level of CPR, there wasn't.
Okay. So it's helpful if you had someone there that you could take turns, like I'll do 100 and then you do 100, because it's kind of exhausting, right?
Objection, compound question, relevance.
I'll sustain it as the compound question. You can re-ask the question ask it in a different way. Go ahead.
So
Is the audio okay for you guys?
how many,
I wish the judge's microphone was closer to his mouth or louder, because I feel like his is a little bit soft.
how long did you administer the CPR before you did the flip over?
I know
How long do you
Tabitha.
think that was?
Before we rolled him to look at the back, is that what you're-
Correct, yes, that's correct.
I would estimate maybe up to a minute.
Okay. And then were you counting compressions? Is that what you were doing during that time, or do you not count? You just do it for a certain amount of time?
I don't recall if I was counting. I mean, I was doing the chest compressions while waiting for the rest of the team to arrive and for us to continue assessing, see if we're going to continue to work the patient and utilize more equipment.
And there were 3 of you there?
4 total, but 3 by the patient.
Okay. And then you could take turns, right? Like trade off if you needed to?
If we needed to, yes.
So that'd be a lot easier than when you're just there by yourself. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know how long, after the rolling over, you started doing compressions again? Is that correct?
Yes.
That's what I had.
Yes, I believe so.
And how long did you do that for?
I would estimate maybe upwards of another minute
So maybe 2 minutes total?
during that sequence, yes.
And was there another sequence?
At some point, we would have stopped doing chest compressions so we could evaluate the heart rhythm. That's on the heart monitor.
With the heart
And
monitor?
we can't be doing compressions to evaluate that.
Okay. And then you didn't continue compressions after the heart monitor at all?
From what I recall, I resumed again in brief discussion as far as what direction we were going to go.
And what were the results of the heart monitor?
There was no electrical activity.
He was busy trying to save your husband's life. Oh my gosh. Hi, Julie. How are you doing today? Hi, Kelly. I know we trying. We are trying so hard. Oh. I mean, this is not like a unique thing that I've seen defense attorneys. Well, she's not a defense attorney, but the defense has done. Where you try to nitpick at every little thing and you try to get at any angle you can because you never know what's going to stick with the jury, right? So I think the angle that she's going with right now with the rescue team, the paramedic, the firefighters is just that, oh, is it possible that you're incompetent in your job? Is it possible that you fucked up? Is it possible you could have saved Charles, but you didn't? You know, I think that's like kind of the angle that she's going with. So she's going through the process and everything, but I don't know. A little bit of a snooze.
And how long was the heart monitor applied compared to when you started the first compressions?
Hey, Go Lucky.
I'm not sure if I understand the question. Maybe you can reword it or.
Sure. How far into your treatment, I should say, did you guys stop and do the heart monitor?
I would estimate that the monitor probably was on within 2 minutes of making patient contact.
Okay. And how long does that take?
To do what? To put it on?
Well, yeah, to put it on, get a reading, and decide what you're going to do next.
It could take, you got to turn it on, open up a compartment to get the pads out of that compartment. You've got to open that packaging to be able to apply it to the patient's chest area. If the chest is wet, which there's some blood, you need to dry that so it's going to adhere more properly, read more properly. So you could be looking at 30 seconds to a minute possibly of working through that.
Okay. And did you have to do that in this case, is remove blood to stick them on?
I would assume so, but I was doing chest compressions, so that would have been one of the other 2 firefighters kind of working through that.
Okay. So I understand correctly, you said when you rolled him over, did you cut the shirt in the back also to see the exit wounds? Is that?
No, we only had to cut the shirt one time. That was when he was still laying on his back. You cut it down the side and that opens it up to where then you can remove it from the body, pull it off.
So you did pull it off completely at some point?
More than likely, I would say yes. That's typically what we would do.
Okay. But you don't remember if you did that in this case?
I know that I didn't do that because I was doing chest compressions, so I would assume one of my colleagues did that completely. That's typically what we do.
Okay. And so you're back to doing the compressions for the 3rd time, and then you stopped that at some point. Was there another procedure after that?
No, at that point in time is when we would have called the patient.
And who announces that?
Ultimately, I remember our captain, since he's in charge of the crew, would be considered the lead medic. He has the most experience. He's also charting the call, kind of running it, kind of made that final decision.
And that would be Captain Keller? I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you.
Yes, correct.
And then he did call it at, do you know what time?
It would have, I don't have it memorized, no, it would have been like in the charting that he was doing.
And who documents that?
He would have
He
documented
would have
that.
done it? In preparation for your testimony here today, did you review the 911 call at all?
No, not in preparation for today, not the actual. Audio? No.
No.
No, not today, not for this.
What did you review for today?
Sorry, I was sneezing. So I left it muted. I was asking, have you guys heard the 911 call before? I don't think I've heard the call before. And it would have been Lori. It would not have been Lori that called in, I don't think. Probably the brother, right? Is there a 911 call out there?
I was able to look at the incident times were dispatched by Phoenix Fire Department. I was able to look at the paper documentation.
Hi, Ashley.
I was able to see my testimony from Idaho. I was able to see my testimony with Chandler PD when they came to the fire station a couple of weeks after this incident.
And what paper documentation did you actually take a look at?
It would have been the chart that Captain Keller documented.
And what does that chart consist of?
There would be scene times, date, time, address, patient information, name, address, maybe medical history, things that we, a narrative of what we discovered, what we've done, treatments that we've done. The heart rhythm from the monitor gets attached to it.
So that would all be in Captain Keller's report?
Lori has I don't think she has an incentive really to not drag this trial out. Because when she's done with this trial, what is she going to do? Just go back and rot in her prison?
Correct.
And you did take a look at that in preparation for today?
Yes.
And did you write a report regarding this incident?
No.
Hey, Nicole.
You don't have to document anything?
Just one person documents the call.
So for all of the people that were there from fire?
Correct.
Okay. So that's the total report. You just give your input to him and he puts it into the report?
Correct.
And that's the same for the other two firefighters that were along with you?
That's correct.
Okay. So they don't have their own individual reports as well?
No.
Okay. And what time were you dismissed from the scene?
We probably only remained an additional 5 to 10 minutes. The chart would have that time. I don't necessarily have it by memory.
So how long were you at the scene total? Like,
If I had to estimate without looking at it, I would say approximately 20, 25 minutes.
okay.
I would assume that it was Alex.
And then you were like the driver of the truck, right? Was that your responsibility? So you drove in and then did you drive out as well?
Correct.
Okay. So if you guys arrived around 8:41 or something like that, then you left around 25 minutes later? Would that be accurate?
I guess when I was giving that estimate of like the 20, 25, I was even including like our dispatch time from the time we're dispatched, driving to the scene. So if you're wanting to know actual on-scene time, it might be closer. Instead of the 20 to 25, it might be more of a closer to 20 solid. Like
20 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. And is that typical for a call?
It can vary depending on the calls.
Hey, Shaniqua, how are you?
So what other things did you do in that 20 minutes
That's where she belongs. She belongs in hell.
besides administer to the patient?
So I'm including in that time while we're staged around the corner, waiting for PD to arrive, then for PD to clear the scene, for us to drive to the scene. There's the time with the patient, and then there's going to be the cleanup afterwards. Removing our equipment, going outside. Maybe the equipment needs to be cleaned, restocked, ready for another call. So when we drive away, we're ready to respond to another emergency.
Oh, that was quick.
And then drive away.
Okay. So when you were done with the patient and you were going through that procedure of cleaning, were you in the house or did you exit the house?
We'll remove all of our stuff and we'll go outside, typically to the front bumper of the fire truck.
And then what do you do?
We have cleaning chemicals on the truck that we could get out to, clean our equipment up to reuse it. We've got cabinet with restock to be able to restock anything that might need to be. So we'll take care of those things to be ready to respond to another call.
Okay. And while you were out front, did you see Alex on the curb?
I did see somebody on the curb, or I don't remember if he was on the curb or standing, but I remember seeing somebody with an officer or officers. I don't recall how many people might have been together.
Okay. And did you converse with those officers at all during that time?
I don't believe so. I don't really remember conversing with any officers on scene. That would have been more Captain Keller, charting, documenting, kind of getting information from them. He would be able to answer that question.
Okay. So did you,
I mean, are we just asking questions just for the sake of asking questions? Or am I just being really impatient? Might be me.
was anybody in firefighting on your team, the four of you that were there, was anyone asked to take a look at Alex?
We were not.
Let's see. Have you spoken to the media about this case?
Can I object? Relevance?
What? The media?
What's the relevance?
What is the relevance, Your Honor?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he asked.
Just to know how many times he's given testimony?
Your Honor, I'm
Right.
going
I'm gonna-
to, maybe we can
hold on.
sidebar.
Yeah, I don't want to. All right, let's go on sidebar.
Oh, man. Listen, if they ever release the sidebar transcripts, I can't wait to read them. I can't wait to read them. They're going to be so good. So Lori can't go up to the judge. I don't know if she's in like shock shackles. I don't think she is though. But they're using like these headphones, microphones to communicate with each other. And then they're apparently blasting white noise in the courtroom right now. He's just chilling there. You're doing a good job, Mr. Cowden. Doing a good job. Do the sidebar. I wonder if she's going to try to ask all the witnesses that. Have you spoken to the media? What about you, Lori? Have you spoken to the media? Do we think she's going to testify? I bet you she's going to testify. Now, I want to know when she testifies, will it be like, what's his name again? The teller guy, right? Where you go up there and you kind of just give a monologue. All right, this is a long sidebar. We're back. She would definitely testify. Isn't it crazy how we're seeing this version of Lori when the version of Lori from, what, 2 years ago in her own trial, her other murder trial, they try to play it off as like, oh my God, Lori's like incompetent. I don't know, man. She needs to be on medical hold. Look at Lori now. Oh, I'm like, damn, she really fooling us over here. Hey, fire. Yeah, I can't wait to read the sidebars. Because, like, remember when we read the sidebars for the Depp v. Heard? Oh my God, they were so fucking hilarious with Elaine.
Mr. Cowden, is it possible that if there was a wound to the chest, that doing compressions on that could cause other damage?
Who's making money?
I suppose it's possible, but ultimately it doesn't matter. If the heart isn't beating, it's what you got to do. It's the appropriate treatment.
So would a common person who doesn't know how to do CPR maybe hesitate about pushing on a bullet wound?
Objection, speculation.
Oh, okay. So where she's getting at is, well, my brother, Alex Cox, didn't do CPRs because there was a bullet wound there and he didn't want to make it worse. But didn't Alex say that he did try to do some life-saving measures? But when they arrived, they were like, doesn't look like you didn't do shit because like he didn't have any blood on him or anything like that.
Sustained.
But you wouldn't.
Oh,
Can you
Lori?
repeat the question?
You wouldn't hesitate to push on the bullet wound if the heart was stopped?
No, I wouldn't.
And you would have to assess if the heart was stopped in order to do that?
Yes, you would check a pulse like we did. We would, use our equipment like we did.
No money for Lori.
So the two wounds that you saw when you first got there, one was in the chest and one was where?
In the abdomen.
On the right side or the left side?
I would be speculating as to how the specific spot or area without actually maybe seeing documentation.
Okay. And can you tell me about I think there's a word for it, but I'm sorry, I can't remember what it was. The crunch.
Ooh.
When doing the chest compressions?
Correct.
I don't know if there was necessarily a certain word that I used, but you feel the sternum crack. I compare it to, like I said before, cracking your knuckles.
And how much pressure would you have to apply to get the crack?
That could vary, like depending on who you're doing CPR on.
Like on an adult male?
I mean, it could still vary depending on, the strength of the person doing CPR also.
Right. When she was comparing Alex Cox to being calm versus the people responding to the scene being calm. And I'm so glad that the state prosecutor, when she came back for a redirect, she was like, wouldn't you say there's a difference between being calm at a scene after you shot someone versus being calm at a scene when you're just showing up, for your job, responding to a scene? Isn't there kind of a difference there? Like,
It could vary depending on the size of that adult male also. So I've never seen like any science that might say you got to deliver this much pounds of force or anything.
Right,
So,
like 400 pounds of pressure or something?
yeah,
I don't know.
right.
Okay.
You're just
So
going to push
there isn't-
hard.
Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Can't have you talk over one another. So He's finished his answer. Go ahead and answer your next question.
So there's no determined amount of pressure, correct?
Just hard and fast. When it comes to people doing CPR, for us, we're working as a team. We have equipment that can tell us if we're pushing hard enough. For a person without that equipment, just hard and fast.
But Kelly, she has to laugh. She has to be likable. They have to look at her and be like, oh my God, she's so endearing. She's a human. I hope you can detect my sarcasm.
Okay, that's fair. And then they don't always get the crack, right? It's not always going to happen.
If they're doing it forcefully enough, they would.
All in the grand screen,
So-
all in the grand scheme of manipulation.
If they didn't do it forcefully enough, it wouldn't.
That is possible, yes.
But then when you come in, the professionals, and you apply the correct amount of force, then you would hear the crack.
Yes,
And is that possible that that happened in this case?
it is possible.
Okay, no more questions.
Hey, Yoshi. Kelly's in my YouTube chat. We're streaming on YouTube and on the Twitch. Shiro's doing good. He's got a new collar. Light blue is a great color on him. And he's going to do his herding instinct class. Or it's not a class, it's a herding instinct type of thing to see if Shiro has the instinct to herd these 3 sheeps. I don't know, it'd be really cool. I'm going to video it. It's exciting.
Does 911 have to regularly instruct people on how to perform CPR?
I don't know if I can answer that since I don't, do that since I'm not 911.
Hey,
Have
Thunder.
you regularly heard while listening to the radio 911 instructing people on how to do CPR?
We have had PTI information when we're responding to a call that will tell us that they are either performing CPR or being instructed to.
So you've seen in the past that 911 is prepared to handle individuals who may not know how to perform CPR.
Yes,
And that's to help try to keep the patient's blood moving while you're en route.
correct.
You were asked a lot about trading off and other people doing compressions. At this scene with this patient, Charles Vallow, did you ever trade off and have someone else do the CPR compressions?
No,
You were the only one doing the CPR compressions.
yes,
Were you doing CPR while another paramedic or EMT was getting the heart monitor ready?
yes,
So this timeline of however long it took them is in conjunction with you still performing CPR.
yes,
You talked about Charles's shirt being cut. If photographs from the scene show his shirt still around his neck, would that indicate that it wasn't removed from him?
after the cutting.
Yeah, so if police, let me ask you this. When you guys are done and he's called deceased, do you put his clothing back on or modify him in any way?
No, we would just take our equipment that's necessary to take.
So if his shirt was still around his neck, then that's how it would have been left.
Correct.
You were asked about whether or not you should perform CPR on a person who has a gunshot wound. Is there any reason why a person with a gunshot wound would not need to have blood circulating through their body to bring oxygen versus some other type of injury?
No,
Is the whole point of CPR to make sure that blood is circulating to get oxygen to their brain
yes,
so that they don't go brain dead?
yes,
And you said that ultimately it wouldn't matter if you cause more injuries because if they're brain dead, who cares, right?
correct.
Damn.
In your assessment, did you feel that no one had performed CPR on Charles Vallow before you arrived?
I had felt that. I do know in my testimony to Chandler PD, I had stated that, or it's probably in my testimony that it was not efficient or something to those lines. But I felt like no, it had not.
Okay, you felt like no, it had not been done.
Correct.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
All right, I see at least one juror question. We'll go
Maybe she tried to do CPR with like 2 little fingers. Oh, sorry, not she, he. Like baby CPR. Like, let me at least try it a little bit. Just kidding. He's dead. We can't.
on a sidebar. Please, if you're a juror and you have any additional questions, pass down your question to the basket.
We're talking about Alex Cox. Is this the same courtroom as where Jodi Arias had her trial? Was it in Phoenix? I thought it was in a smaller town in Arizona, but I don't remember. Now, the cool thing is, I love having jury questions. This is so cool. I feel like Every place, every state should do this. Can we hear anything? I can't hear shit. Right? Yeah, every state should do it. 2-year exception letter. How do you get a 2-year exception letter? In California, if you get summoned for jury duty, you're exempt for like 1 year. Chandler's like 20 to 30 minutes from Phoenix. I've been to Chandler before. It's a very nice area.
All right, so you're going to come on up here.
All right, witness number 4.
You're going to stand right here and be sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
All right, you're going to come up this ramp over here and have a seat to my left.
Fire Department. I'm a recently retired captain with Chandler Fire Department.
When did you retire?
April of 2022.
Man, imagine retiring and then having a bunch of these cases you got to show up for. All these trials. You're like, I just want to retire. Leave me alone. I don't want to testify.
And how long did you work with the Chandler Fire Department?
32 years.
While you were there in, let's talk about 2019, what were your duties? What was your rank?
My rank was captain. I was an engine captain, so a company officer. I was in charge of a 4-person crew. We basically respond for calls to service and the different functions of a.
Did those calls for service include medical calls?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have any training in the area of, I guess, medical treatment yourself?
Yes, I'm a paramedic. I went to paramedic school in 1991.
And can you tell us, is there or was there ongoing type of continuing training to be a paramedic?
Yes, yes, ma'am. There is continuing education throughout the year. You have to have a certain number of hours in each subject, and as well as updates as far as pharmacology or different treatment modalities. So yes, there's constant change.
And the difference between a paramedic and an EMT?
Well, an EMT is EMTB, EMT basic. A paramedic is an EMT paramedic. So the biggest difference would be invasive treatments. So you're trained with more ability to provide care, cardiology and pharmacology.
When fire gets a call of a person who is shot, what is sort of the normal response? What does fire do when they are coming to a scene and they know a person has been shot?
Well, what they normally would do is you get the dispatch.
Also, I have a question. Does anyone know why court starts so late? Because Arizona's in the same time zone as California, and they start in court at like 10:30. Isn't it kind of late? I would expect everyone to come in at like 8:30 or something like that. I don't know.
You look on a map, you route yourself in, and then you would determine a safe place to stage while the scene is secured by PD.
Okay. And then how do you learn that the scene is secure?
In Chandler, anyway, we have interagency communication. So you're on the radio both with Phoenix Dispatch and Chandler PD, direct car to car or to Chandler PD Dispatch.
So you're actually then told by Chandler Police that it's secure and you can come in?
Yes, ma'am. They will give you a scene safe or code 4 and cop talk.
When you arrive on scene as the captain, what is your role when you get there?
My role is scene safety, primary scene safety. That's rule number 1 in everything that we do. And in other words, as I arrive on scene, I'm going to make sure with PD that there are no more threats for our crew and get direction to where we need to do treatment.
when you have this team of 4, how do you determine who does what?
Well, I mean, that's individual crew training, and some crews might have specific jobs. Ours is more of a fill and flow. As you come to, I guess I should say, one person is charting, one person is going to be the paramedic in charge of the call. So he's running the call. His job is bigger picture. And then that'll leave 3 people for hands-on treatment until a 2-person rescue would arrive.
The jury that you served was for traffic offense going 10 over the speed limit? Really? That sounds like such a waste of time. Were they like a repeat offender or some shit? Like they did this like 8 times? I don't know, go 10 over the speed limit and shrunk for trial for that? So we're the Arizona's in Pacific time and Utah isn't. I thought Arizona was Central time. I was so confused when I looked it up and I was like, oh, wait, Arizona and California are in the same time zone. Oh, that is weird. You're a huge fan of this witness. Clear, concise. Yeah. Nice voice.
An ambulance would arrive to help if that were the case.
I think it's because we have our own time zone and no daylight savings. Oh, is it no daylight savings in Arizona? Because that would make sense. Because I could have sworn we were about an hour off from Arizona.
Does fire ever respond to a scene and then advise that a person is deceased?
Certainly.
And if fire responds, determines a person is deceased, and this is potentially a crime scene, what does fire do at that point?
Well, fire then would pick up their gear and leave without disturbing that scene as much as possible. I mean, we have gear. We spread out our gear. When we get to a patient, you know, we have monitors and drug boxes and trauma treatment boxes. So as soon as it's determined that the patient is not viable, then you would pick up that gear and leave the scene. What you don't want to do is interfere with any investigation going forward.
And even when you are working on a person, are you trying to limit impacting the scene itself to the best of your ability?
Yes, our job would be to determine if treatment is necessary and then do that treatment regardless. But yes, what I should do, what the captain or whoever that paramedic should do that has the larger picture would be to try and minimize any disturbing of the scene.
But obviously, taking care of the patient is the primary focus, even if that causes the scene to be disturbed.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you working on July 11th of 2019 around 8:30 in the morning?
Yes.
Do you recall responding to a shooting at 5531 South 4 Peaks in Chandler?
Yes.
When you responded or first went to the scene, did you guys stage like we've discussed?
Yes, ma'am.
And you advise that you're being provided information from 2 different sources?
Yes, our primary source is Phoenix Dispatch. But yes, you are able to monitor Chandler PD as well.
Is Phoenix Dispatch 911?
We'll get to listen to the jury questions at the end.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you're getting what's coming in from 911. Are they relaying information to you?
Yes.
Are things like whether or not the patient is receiving CPR something that is very relevant to you?
Yes.
In this case, did you receive any information regarding that?
Yes. We were told that CPR instruction had been given and CPR was in progress.
Does 911, in your experience in over 30 years, are they?
Oh, wait a second. In yesterday's stream, did we get to hear the jury questions? I feel like I don't remember hearing the jury questions in yesterday's stream. Is it not on stream? That would suck.
Able to provide instruction for lay people who may not know how to do 911 or not know how to do CPR compressions?
Yes, they are actually certified to do that. They train and are certified to give that instruction over the phone.
So even though it's only verbal, they've been trained to how to present that to a person over the phone.
Yes.
So you are advised that CPR instructions have been given and that that compressions are being given? Yes.
Been a little while, but yes, I believe that I was told. I do know that instruction. I do remember specifically hearing that CPR in progress. I believe I remember. I would have to, but definitely the CPR instructions had been given.
Does knowing that a person has been receiving CPR impact the way you view a patient when you enter a scene?
Yes.
How?
Well, because it would make the patient more viable. If adequate CPR were given prior to our arrival, then you would hope that good CPR was given and that oxygenated blood was being pushed around the body, which would mean that make the patient more viable at that point.
When you go to a scene where you believe CPR is given, such as this one, was that one of the things, I guess, that was part of your decision-making as you are assessing this patient?
Yes.
Can you talk to us about when you entered this residence, what do you recall?
When I entered the residence, I recall thinking that the house seemed empty, like it was either being moved into or moved out of.
Yeah, Lori said that they had just moved in 3 weeks in, because what happened was they were living in, was it in Texas? Was it Houston, Texas? They were living in Texas. Charles remained in Texas, and then Lori and the kids, although she claimed, oh, I had to move the kids out because, you know, I didn't want my daughter Tylee to get another argument with Charles again, because I think she's trying to say that Charles like almost tried to hit Tylee. And she's like, oh yeah, we had to get out of there. But Charles was paying for the house in Arizona. Charles came to visit Arizona and then wanted to take JJ to school. And then I think Lori also said that like, oh, Charles agreed to bring, to have us all move back to Arizona. Additionally, because there was a better school suited for JJ who has special needs.
So there was no furniture or anything. We had a clear path
Lori, the
to
caring,
where the
loving
patient
mom.
was. And I remember thinking that there's very little in this room other than.
Oh, is it from Hawaii? What was it from? I thought it was Hawaii and then Texas and then Arizona. Do I have it mixed up? I could have it mixed up.
the patient.
Did you notice at any point some items around the patient?
The only thing I remember being around the patient was a baseball bat and a ball cap.
Do you think Charles is wearing a ball cap, or do you think they planned it there? Like, oh, okay, this makes it look more legit. let's put a ball cap here.
And do you recall at this point where those items were in relation to him?
Yes, I believe the baseball bat would have been on the patient's right and the ball cap above him somewhere in the room. I think the baseball bat was against the wall on his right.
And remember, the state is maintaining that Charles was a professional baseball player at some point, and he pitched and he swung the bat with his left hand, not the right. Lori, however, was like, well, actually, he pitched with the left and he swung with the right.
Do you recall ever seeing a bullet near the victim?
Once we started assessing, I did see a bullet, a spent round on the floor.
So that's sort of a little bit into, you're in
Yes,
the scene.
ma'am. Yes.
Wasn't something you initially recognized?
No, no.
While you're in there, was there any officers in the room with you or inside the house?
There was at least one officer still clearing the house, I believe, or at least going through the house. I only recall for sure one officer being interior.
Can you describe for us how the patient, how Charles was laying when you first observed him?
Yes, ma'am. He was laying supine. He was laying on his back. As we entered, his head was towards us, so geographically, I think north. So that's how he was laying supine.
Do you recall anything about his arms or hands, where they were?
I don't. To his sides, I don't recall, honestly.
Did you observe any injuries to Charles, this patient?
Yes, he had evidently a gunshot wound to his center chest. Hole in the shirt and a small amount of blood.
Yeah, that's what I saw in the body cam. When we were watching the body cam yesterday, they did blur out Charles's body, but they didn't like super blur it, so you can kind of see a little bit. But I remember observing that I didn't see any like large pools of blood or anything like that.
Did you recall or notice anything about where the blood was pooling from that shot to the chest?
At that time, I did not, because we have to expose the patient, and the so he's a big guy, so he had a small amount of blood above his sternum.
I'm showing you Exhibit 3 that's previously been admitted. Does that look like,
If it adjusts a little bit, but
Okay.
you can attempt.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
are you able to see that there?
Yes.
Kind of. Does this look like the patient that you were working on?
Yes.
And in this, do you see the blood pooling in Exhibit 3 there?
Yes.
Is that sort of what you were talking about?
Yes. Here.
I think it's a screenshot of the body cam footage, probably. That is a beautiful goatee. Yes, he's a beautiful man. I love his like full white hair, white beard to match. Oh man. I hope my hair goes all white when I'm like older. So cool.
Here in around the collarbone. So there's a divot here. That
Would you describe this patient as a fit man?
he seemed to be, yes.
You know what? You know what could have been a good excuse? And I don't know if this is the excuse they gave because I haven't seen Alex Cox's interview, but Alex Cox would have been like, yeah, you know, at some point, I shot him, the adrenaline was running in my body, but then like soon, like, oh man, that head injury was just so bad that like I think I like passed out or something. And that's why I waited 45 minutes to call law enforcement. I don't know, just some bullshit like that. Of course, you know, when they see the injuries that he had, it didn't look crazy or anything like that. Lori should have got the baseball bat and beat up the brother a little bit more just to make it look more legit. Maybe. Yes, right? You want to go white and put colors in it? Yes, that would be so cool. Greetings. Hello. How are you doing today? Anyone have a quick synopsis for context? So Lori Vallow is on trial for the murder of her husband at the time, Charles Vallow. She's accused of conspiring with her brother, Alex Cox, of murdering her husband. That way she can take the life insurance money. Like, it's just a boring motive. It's like money. There's like cheating happening. You know, she just wants to take the money. She wants to go off and live her new life with her new man, who's a loser. And that's where we're at. Now, initially, it seems like this might have been ruled as self-defense. That's why it's taking so long for it to finally come to trial, I guess. I have questions about that. I have questions about this investigation. And then who was the one that didn't want to press further? Did law enforcement really believe that nothing was going on? Or was it the state that was like, we ain't got enough evidence?
When you saw that pooling like that, did that stand out to you or seem at all impactful in your decision of whether or not CPR had been given prior to your arrival?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because had adequate CPR been given there, I would have expected more blood, possibly on there, and perhaps a pool of blood under him. I didn't see any blood under him. I mean, when we first got there.
So when you guys first arrived, let's go back to sort of describing the scene. You said that you didn't notice any blood pooling under him.
I did not.
And is that something that you guys are cognizant of since you're going to have to get down and around him?
Yes, but we're more cognizant of it because it would indicate an exit wound. And obviously, the more blood there is, the more the heart was beating or CPR was being done.
So Joshua says the cops really dropped the ball on this. If it was treated as a murder to begin with, it would have prevented at least 3 future murders. Yeah, that's definitely something that you have to consider. I don't know. I feel really sad for Charles because Charles dies. And then look at what happens to JJ. Charles knew that something was up. Fucking Lori. Charles probably knew that Lori and both Chad were probably batshit crazy. He ends up dying. He can't protect JJ anymore. And look what happens to JJ. Lori fucking kills him. Yeah.
Okay.
Very sad.
So both the lack of spreading on him is one indication that kind of made you question if CPR had been given,
Yes, ma'am.
and the lack of pooling of blood underneath him was another sort of
Yes.
flag to you that maybe CPR had not been given.
And no one was doing CPR when we got there. Would have been the primary indicator to me. And I say that because if CPR were in progress by PD, if there were an officer there doing CPR, then they would have continued to do CPR until we relieved them.
No, he's a retired
If a
firefighter
person
paramedic.
is shot
Right?
and
Captain?
deceased, and you start giving them compressions, can you still push blood out of those wounds?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, at some point when fire arrives and they are assessing a patient, do they I'm going to put up Exhibit 4 here. Do you need to try to remove any garments that might be around those potential gunshot wounds?
Yes, you would expose the patient.
Why is that?
Well, because you don't know for sure how many gunshots there are. You check for exit wounds. Some gunshot wounds, some entry wounds are minimal. You wouldn't see them. You know, you could go through a shirt and not see them. So you expose the patient.
Okay. I have Exhibit 4 up here from body cam from a officer that's previously been admitted. Do you recognize who these people are and where this is?
Yes, ma'am.
And is this you?
It is.
So in this case, at some point, was Charles's shirt cut in any way to allow access to those gunshot wounds?
That would be the norm. Is at this point they would be cutting his shirt.
Is Lori also going to ask this witness how the shirt was cut?
Do you recall from
Kind of
this scene
scissors.
how many gunshot wounds you observed to the front of Mr. Vallow?
I believe 2.
Now, when you guys first arrived on scene, do you check the pulse? Like, what do you do when you first get there?
Yes, you would check for pulses, carotid pulse, and obvious signs of light breathing, so chest rise and fall, as you are walking up to a patient.
So in this case, for Charles Vallow, did you guys find a pulse?
No, ma'am.
Did you notice him breathing?
No.
Do you do any other assessments before you start compressions?
No.
So if he's not breathing and you don't see that he has a pulse, why begin CPR? Why start compressions?
Because you don't know how long he has not been breathing or not had a pulse.
Okay.
He could have just stopped those things moments before we got there, which would make him a viable candidate, or a viable patient, rather.
And does, again, the fact that you believe CPR had been performed prior to you arriving also play into your decision to see if he's viable?
Yes.
And you know what? It's no wonder that they continue to murder more people because they got away with this. The 2 numbnuts got away with this. And they were like, oh shit, that was easy. Okay, cool. Let's keep doing it.
As other officers are doing compressions, what are you doing there?
So I'm charting. So I am, in this particular case, I was running the call. So I'm going down a checklist, gathering information, listening to what they're telling me, and having them. I'm directing them throughout the call.
Okay. So at some point, are compressions stopped to assess the patient in other ways?
Yes, after a heart monitor is on.
No, I haven't seen the new JCS video. It did pop up on my feed though. But I do remember hearing the JCS drama a while back. There was a content creator that was covering it. They talked about how JCS tried to do like AI stuff or something, and people weren't happy with it. And then JCS kind of just like went a little quiet for a bit. I don't know. I haven't followed JCS, but I do love the the OG JCS videos. Oh my god, they were so good. Well, what is the new case? What is the case about? I think he ended up taking the videos down when people were complaining about the AI stuff or something. So they took the videos down. Agree, Joshua, that he knew they were coming for him. He told his partner he was afraid Chad and Lori were going to end him. But he was the one who was doing all the ending. It seems like they used him. So do you think he like took his own life, maybe? Maybe he took some medication or something? Or you think like Lori and Chad actually got to him? I like to listen to other questions that are about CPR. Yeah, that's why I was a little hesitant about covering day 2. Usually the initial couple days of trial, it's like a little bit like kind of like a snooze, We're listening from law enforcement, rescue team and stuff like that. And we respect what they do, but it's just, kind of want to get into like the more like nitty-gritty details. But they have to do this for the trial. They got into they got to get into the details.
Okay. And so are compressions able to be performed while someone else is getting the heart monitor ready?
Yes, compressions continue throughout until you stop compressions to check for pulses.
Okay. Do you ever want to check a patient who you see has gunshot wounds, such as Mr. Vallow here, to see if there's exit wounds?
Yes, ma'am, immediately.
Yes, I heard about that too. They also had demonetization issues. Yeah, I remember when they were posting about that. I think about like maybe 2 years ago. Yeah. He killed his wife because she didn't want to go on a drama TV show with him. I heard about that case, but no, I haven't listened to the interrogation or anything like that. He fake cried during the entire interrogation. Oh, man. Yeah, I heard about that case. Was it like a home remodeling TV show or some sort? Something like that? It's like, okay, just get a divorce. I don't fucking know. Don't kill your fucking wife. Why is killing the fucking solution for things? Wild. Just wild to me.
So they would have cut his shirt, taken his shirt off, rolled him, checked for exit wounds, and then rolled him back and continued compressions.
In this case, are you documenting your observations and others about what you observed when he was rolled?
Yes.
So when he's rolled, you're looking at his back?
Back, right, from the back of the head to the back of the feet.
Okay. So he's completely rolled over so that you can see his back.
Yes.
Did you
know Lori Vallow was an extra in the episode of Modern Family? What year? No, I didn't know about that. We covered Lori Vallow being on, was it Wheel of Fortune or some shit like that? It was like Lori Vallow, Donna Adelson, Sarah Boone, Wendy Adelson, all these like game shows. But no, I haven't heard of Lori Vallow being on Modern Family. Isn't Modern Family kind of like within the past 10 years? Or was it before that? Oh, I've seen that JCS interrogation before. Bummer, hoping for a new one. I think it came out like within the past couple of days, no? It was in 16 or 17? Oh, interesting. No, I didn't hear about that.
notice anything about Mr. Vallow's back that may have indicated he'd been there for significantly longer than you originally thought?
He did have lividity. So there was modeling, skin modeling and lividity. Once the shirt comes off, then you could see modeling on the skin and lividity had begun to form.
Can you tell us what modeling means?
Oh, thank you. I was just about to Google that. Thank you, prosecutor. You're amazing. What is modeling? Tell us more.
Is sort of a patchy looking skin caused from hypoxia or not enough oxygen getting to the skin. I mean, you can have mottled skin for different reasons, but in this case, it would be from his heart not beating.
Okay. And then you said lividity. What does that mean?
So lividity is the pooling of blood, and that takes longer, much longer. So the blood will begin to leave the tissues and gravity drain to the lowest part of the body.
Oh, what was the trial that we watched together where they talked about lividity? They were talking about the pooling of the blood, and that became important. Oh, gosh, you guys remember what trial we covered recently? Not the Sarah Boone one. Was it one before Sarah Boone? Not the stabbing one, not the Wisconsin River one. Oh, okay. If you guys know what I'm talking about, drop it in the chat.
So when the blood isn't being circulated by either CPR or the heart, the blood just starts to pool there.
Yes.
And so you noticed that as well when he was rolled?
Yes.
Did you notice any exit wounds?
I did notice at least one exit wound, yes.
Not the Rust trial. I think it was a gunshot
After
case,
you
too.
looked at his back, do you recall, I guess, when in this process you checked his heart monitor, when that was done?
I do not. This all happens simultaneously. You asked what these different people are doing. They're doing all of those things simultaneously. So the patient is exposed, CPR has begun, and the evaluation, the rest of the evaluation is happening. So timeline, it's on the heart monitor, I'm sure, but a lot of it happens simultaneously. That answer the question you asked that again? I'm
I
sorry.
believe so. Do you recall what the heart monitor results were?
Asystole, no electrical rhythm in the heart. Flatline for.
Do you ever look at a patient's pupils?
Yes, ma'am, always.
What's that for?
Because if it's just a.
Oh, I found it. It seems like Lori, Colby, her son, and Tylee were in it. Let me see. Don't copy.
We go over to the front where you'll buy.
This is an
Go
act.
to the show, you'll see me walking by, and Tylee's there too. She
Oh, I think this is Colby. Is this Colby? Oh gosh, should I just mute it?
walking by, and Tylee's there too. She has a little hat on, but I'm gonna pop in right now. I have a blue shirt with I think a white undershirt, because this is after I bought this shirt and was trying to be on the show. So you see me come in, I'm tall, right there, right next to the blonde. You see me?
Oh, that's him. That's a young Colby. That's Lori.
I'm right there. And then Tylee, she's so short you can't even see her, but
Yeah, I
she's
can't
right
see
next to us. And we all walk through. So it's so funny. This is on someone else's YouTube.
Oh yeah, there's Colby, Lori. Oh, Tylee's so. Oh, she's so little. She's so tiny.
Brain function, if you shine light on pupils, they react. When the brain stops to function, hypoxia sets in, the pupils will dilate and remain fixed, so they won't change. They're non-reactive to light.
What did you see with Mr. Vallow?
They were fixed and non-reactive.
So we heard about the pooling of the blood on Mr. Vallow when you first arrived. As CPR was being done, did you notice any blood being pushed out of his body?
A little bit more. Again, he is on his back. Exit wound was in his back, but yes, we increased the amount of blood under the patient by doing CPR.
It was Chad Daybell trial? I don't think so, because I didn't really watch Chad Daybell's trial. Was it Melanie Ferris? No, not Melanie Ferris. Her husband was in the burn pile pit. Oh, what case am I thinking of?
When you first arrived, did you notice any active bleeding?
No, ma'am.
Hey, Maxie.
What's the relevance of no active bleeding?
No heartbeat.
Poor Charles.
Were you advised of Scott Cowden's information about when he started CPR, hearing the crunch, or feeling, I guess, the crunch of him performing CPR?
Was I advised of it?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Chad's lawyer kept mispronouncing that word. That's how I remember it. Pryor, right? Pryor. What's his name again? Pryor. Pryor's his last name. Hello.
Did he let you know that?
No, but that would be expected.
And is that expected if CPR hadn't been performed?
No, not adequately. Again, big guy, so that the sternum the cartilage holding the sternum to the ribs breaks. It gives way. So, and that actually makes CPR much easier.
In this case, you came in, he wasn't breathing, he was pulseless, his pupils were dilated, the heart monitor said there was no activity, correct? Yes. When you looked at his back, you noticed both modeling, which meant that the blood wasn't moving through his body?
Yes, and modeling was on the front as well.
Okay.
So as that blood cools, so it leaves.
From the little that I've watched from Chad's trial, because we watched some clips here and there, the feeling that I had was that his attorney like fucking hated him. I don't know. There was just a feeling that I got. It's the same feeling that I got with, remember Letitia Stout? She had two attorneys that were representing her. I felt like they fucking hated her. While they're trying to do their best to represent their client, there's just like something from their tone. Oh, wait, no. Lori Vallow's attorney. Maybe I'm getting mixed up because Lori Vallow's murder trial, I felt like the person that was representing her, the attorney that was representing her, I felt like he fucking hated her. Fuck, what were their names? Because I really liked them. There's like the two guys that were representing her. And dude, when they were talking shit about Chad, oh my gosh, Lori was not happy, especially during I think it was in closing and maybe in sentencing. They just like threw Chad under the bus, and Lori, she did not look like she was happy whatsoever. Sorry, I don't think it was Pryor that I thought hated Chad. I don't think. But I think it was Lori's attorneys that I think like fucking hated Chad and her. And then also Letitia Stouck's attorneys. Like I felt like they just fucking hated them so much. And it was just so hard for them to conceal that hatred. Oh man. Jody's attorney. Yes, Jody's attorneys for sure hated her. The public defender, he wrote a book. I wonder if I should read the book. Yeah, he wrote a book about that, and then I think he ended up getting like in trouble. He was like, fuck this. Oh man.
Use the tissue, that's gonna hasten the modeling part of it.
So you noticed that when the shirt was then cut and
Yes.
he was exposed,
Yes.
as well as when he was rolled.
Yes.
And then you also noticed on the back the lividity of the blood pooling there.
Yes.
When you, I guess, obtained all of that information, did you end life-saving measures?
Yes.
Who decides to end life-saving measures?
I do, as well as the rest of the crew. So Scott Cowden is also a paramedic, and he concurred. So then we call that in, and we cease life-saving function, or attempts rather.
When you cease life-saving measures at a scene where someone has been shot and is now deceased at the scene, do you leave sort of any attached medical devices with him?
Well, as little as possible. So what would have been left on him would have been defibrillator pads, probably EKG electrodes, and probably a CPR puck.
Now, when you arrived on scene or when you were exiting, did you ever notice any male outside that might have been with some police officers?
Oh,
That's true. She also has a mean handstand. That's true. Handstand, picking at her toenails while being well, after being interrogated.
a person?
Yeah.
Yes. One person, one male.
And did you notice him when you arrived or when you left?
Well, when I arrived, again, my job in particular is to kind of get a larger.
Did she end up selling the T-shirts though? I feel like we hear a lot of times defendants would be like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do great for humanity. I'm going to turn myself around. I'm going to help survivors." Do you guys remember Jamie Komorowski? Oh boy, young 20s, was really fucking drunk. Had like shots of tequila, was like on a bender that night, and then she ran into the golf cart that had Samantha and Eric Hutchinson's on it, and they're two family members, and the bride died on her fucking wedding night. Jamie Komorowski, well, she was like, okay, well, if I'm judge, you let me out. I want to start doing things for the community. I'm going to make these bracelets, or I don't know what the fuck she said. She was going to make some shit, and then she was going to sell it, and then have the proceeds go towards like some sort of charity or something. I don't know if she actually ended up doing that. I don't think she did. I don't think she did. I feel like these people just say things, just to try to get the judge to be like, oh my God, maybe this person is good. Maybe this person is has turned around after all. I don't know. I feel like these motherfuckers, they just say it and they don't actually do it. The T-shirt thing actually actually happened. I don't know. I haven't really followed Jody. The updates that I get for Jody are from Bose. But yeah, I haven't seen anything with Jody in a while.
Overview of the scene, so I did notice a person talking with PD.
And when you observed this person, did you notice anything that he appeared to be injured in any way?
No.
So no obvious injuries to you?
No.
If you had been asked to treat him, would you have?
Of course.
Did you see that same person outside when you left?
Yes.
And when you left, did you observe anything about him again that he appeared to be injured in any way?
No.
Did you ever see a...
I forgot where we saw this, but I think it was a testimony. It was a testimony where someone says that Alex Cox was like, he had a paper towel and he was like wiping his wounds or whatever, but then when you look at the paper towel, it was mostly white. Like there was some red on there, but it was mostly just white.
A female and a female teenager at the scene?
Yes.
Where did you see them?
They were across the street from the house we were at.
Do you see that person in the courtroom today?
I see the adult, yes.
Can you point her out and let us know what she's wearing?
Dark blazer at the defendant's table. Dark clothes, I'm not sure.
Bo's had a video where she's making fun of Jody for I think Jody was trying to convince the jury that she shouldn't be up for DP. And so she puts on this like presentation, but I kind of felt like you're listening to a middle school presentation, like doing a project or something. Like, please don't kill me. Please don't put me up for DP. I don't know. Jody is just fucking, she batshit crazy. Okay. She fucking wild. But that was a funny video.
Okay. State will ask the record to reflect the witness has identified the defendant.
Good job.
Did you overhear her talking or saying anything?
I did overhear her talking with the police officers, or someone said something about not getting invited to a pool party because of the commotion at the house or something. So
Say what now? She over here like, man, I want to get my tan on. I got to be tan before I go to Hawaii to marry my Chad. My beloved Chad. What is this pool party thing? Oh my God. Gotta listen to that again.
not getting invited to a pool party because of the commotion at the house or something. So.
Did you have any formal interaction?
Wait
with
a
her?
second. Did someone just say what? Hold on. Listen to that again.
The pool party because of the commotion at the house or something. So
Someone's got a hot mic on. What?
Did you have any formal interaction with her?
no,
When you sort of completed and left this scene, looking back and assessing it, based upon your training, your experience, what you observed, and what was done to Mr. Vallow at the scene, would you agree that Charles Vallow was dead before you entered the house?
yes,
Based upon your training, your experience, what you observed, and what was done to Mr. Vallow, would you agree that it was highly unlikely that anyone had performed CPR on Charles Vallow prior to fire arriving?
yes.
You can't. You won't be finding me at a tanning bed, okay? Because have you not seen Final Destination? I remember when I was in high school, my friends were going to tanning beds, and I was like, "Oh, maybe I'll, try it out. I want it to be tan or whatever the fuck." But no, Final Destination I think came out that year, and I was like, "No, no, no, I don't want to die. No, thank you." And then also my one of my teachers talked about tanning beds, and she like scared the shit out of us, and we're like, "Okay, we're not doing tanning beds."
I have no other questions, Your Honor.
All right.
All right, Lori, come on up. We're ready for you. I'm ready. Warmed up. Cross-examination. Here comes Lori. Here comes Lori. Got the back of her head.
Yes.
There's room at the top to crawl out, though. What if an earthquake happens and then the building collapses on top of you and you're trapped in the tanning bed, but the heat is still... I'm just kidding. Don't listen to me.
You were first on the scene?
The police department was first, but yes, we were the first fire unit.
First fire on the scene. And can you explain to us what staging is exactly? I'm not really sure.
Sure. Staging, when there's some violent incident,
Look at her, y'all. She's laughing. She's so likable.
the fire department, the firefighters don't have protective equipment for that sort of a scene. So we will go to a place where close to whatever the dispatched address is that we would be.
Hold on, actually, I don't want to get UTI. I'm going to use the restroom really quick. We're not getting no UTIs because of Lori, okay? Give me a second. I'm surprised Bose didn't go in on her last night, but I'm glad because, because I think Bose, when she does her shows, they're all like planned out. I'm sure we'll get to Lori. She'll probably do a Lori stream. We'll probably see it. I thought my internet crashed. Hey, Night Owl, how are you doing today? No, Corey just has to use the restroom because she doesn't want to get a UTI because of Lori, okay? No UTIs here. I get the feeling that she's asking questions for her own information rather than getting testimony for the jury to know and make a decision in her favor. I mean, I also think that she's just like kind of stalling a little bit because, she ain't got nothing better to do once this trial's over. Just goes back to prison. So this helps her pass the day, She gets to do something challenging for her. Exciting, maybe even. Embarrassing. Humiliating, maybe. See how Lori does. Okay, we just started cross-examination. We got a little laugh from Lori.
A place of safety, but close, so that as soon as the scene is made safe by the police department, then we would enter into the scene.
So that would be like a couple houses away, or?
Could be a couple
Really?
houses, could be behind cover. In this case, it was a gunshot was the call. So you want to make sure that you are a little ways away, you know,
Okay.
in case there was more gunshots.
Right. So you parked somewhere on the street, but a couple houses down from the house. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then part of that staging is you stayed there until you get the all clear.
Yes, until the police department says that it's safe to enter the scene.
Okay. And you were wearing body cam that day?
No, we don't wear body
Oh,
cams.
you don't wear body cam. Okay. You were just on the, that was a picture from you on the body cam.
On the
On
one of the
someone
police
else's
officers,
body cam.
yes.
Okay. Okay. Do you use any instruments to obtain current body temperature? Do you guys have an instrument?
Yeah, I agree. She's actually understanding better than I thought she would. Yeah, I agree too. Because if we were getting like a shit show like Darryl Brooks, where it was just like nothing but just like a cacophony of just like nonsense, that would have been really unbearable to go through. This is more bearable in my opinion. Although opening statements, the repetitiveness was like kind of like oh, but yeah, it's a lot more less unhinged than I thought it would be. All right, we're talking about body temperature.
Do you use any instruments to obtain current body temperature? Do you guys have an instrument for that?
No.
No?
Every time when I hear about body temperature getting taken, do you guys remember the armpit dude from the Murdoch case? He was, I don't know if was he a coroner? But essentially they were like, yeah, like, did you take the body temperature? He's like, yeah, I stuck my hand in the armpit. I'm like, okay, and what temperature did you get from that? Oh man, I was thinking about the armpit guy.
Would that help you give a more approximate time of calling a time of death?
It wouldn't help me. I'm not trained to do that. So we don't have that. It's not within our scope of practice to determine that.
It's not part of paramedics training?
No.
Okay.
To shove your finger in the armpit, right? No.
You explained the modeling being patchy looking skin?
Yes.
Because of no
You know, I will say, when I was having my crazy arc, I was a blonde. Although I don't think it was the hair's fault. I think it was the birth control's fault.
oxygen to the skin. Is that correct?
Decreased, yes.
And so will that continue to increase? I don't really understand. Like would you say modeling is complete or in progress? How does that work?
I would say in progress. As less and less tissue had oxygenation, I would say it continues to model.
So would you say it was in early progress or late progress? How would you estimate that?
I could not say early or late, just modeling.
That modeling was present
Yes, yes.
at that point. So how long would it take for modeling to become present? That's kind of my question.
I don't know how long.
So it could be like
different for different people, I suppose.
So it could be a minute, 5 minutes.
He's already indicated.
Hold on.
Yes, now.
Rephrase the question. I'll allow it, but make sure you let him answer before you ask your next question.
Okay. So it could be just a few minutes, possibly.
Possibly. I don't know.
Okay. And then lividity, you explained as a pooling of blood. The blood leaves the tissues and goes to the bottom. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. And you saw that as well?
yes.
And in your estimation,
Like, what notes are you taking about that? I'm just so curious.
would that have happened soon? You know what oh, that's not a good question.
You know what? Maybe she watched Legally Blonde. Maybe she watched what's Suits or something. Yeah, Suits. What are some other legal attorney lawyerly TV shows as movies? There are actually some really good old movie ones that I watched. There was one with actually, was it good? There was Lincoln Lawyer, but I don't remember if that was good or not, with Matthew McConaughey. Oh, there's the one with Joe Pesci. Was it Joe Pesci? Is it Joe Pesci that was in that one? My Uncle Vinny? Yes, that is Joe Pesci. Uncle Vinny. Ah, Uncle Vinny's so good. Okay, let's listen.
And in your estimation, would that have happened soon? You know what oh, that's not a good question. In your estimation, that had begun?
Yes.
And was it advancing how far?
He had lividity on the back of his torso,
So does lividity,
backs of his arms.
start immediately after the heart stops? Is that what you were saying?
I suppose it does.
Okay. And if you run in,
Because wouldn't this just go against her case if there were signs that Charles was like deceased and maybe deceased for a little bit? Then for sure it would show that Alex Cox did wait what was it, like 37 minutes or whatever before calling 911 instead of calling 911 immediately after Charles was shot. I feel like this just goes against her case.
Any kind of medication, would that affect that as well?
I couldn't say.
And what time of death did you document? You were making the document, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And what time of death did you document?
I did not put time of death, but I put a time of treatment.
We do have a membership thing, although I don't know. It might be at the bottom of this chat or at the bottom of this video, this live stream, where you can join the membership if you guys want. I just noticed that Lori reminds me of a lot of the actresses. Oh, Connie. I like Connie. It's because Connie has beautiful, great hair. I guess kind of similar to Lori. But Connie is she's a redhead, isn't she? Yeah, she's got like the thick curls. She should totally play her in a movie. I could totally see that. Yeah, I could see that. I haven't seen Connie since White Lotus. Although I think no, Connie Britton is on it's in something new recently too. I forget what it was though, because I remember seeing her name on something. But man, I really loved her in Nashville. I was so sad when she quit Nashville. She was my Nashville mommy. But you know, she wanted to do other things. She didn't want to be tied to a TV show for that long. But man, she was so good in Nashville. I loved her.
And being ceased, and I don't recall what that time was. It's on that report.
And you stated that you were listening to dispatch on the radio, is that correct?
Yes.
So were you listening to the actual 911 operator speaking?
No, whoever is calling, if you call on a phone to a 911 operator, they would give that information to a dispatcher who would then dispatch a call with the pertinent information.
Okay, so you were getting kind of updates as it went along?
No, you get the initial call, and then if it were pertinent for us, like the scene is secure, PD says the scene is secure, go in, then we would get that.
Yes, Connie was in Dirty John. Oh my gosh. Dirty John is fucking wild. I listened to the podcast and then I also watched the TV show.
PD would call dispatch, and dispatch would then call us.
Okay, so were you aware at all that they had asked him to come outside?
Not
No.
Chrono Sanders.
You just saw that he was outside, but you didn't know that the 911 operator had told him to come outside, is that correct?
I did not know who he was or how he was involved in it.
Okay.
When we arrived.
So on those dispatch updates, it wasn't saying like shooter is in-house or shooter is outside or anything like that? Okay, that wouldn't be.
Not to us.
That's what I'm saying.
That might be to the police department, but that's not something we would hear.
Okay.
Oh, yes. That's where I saw her name. 0 Day with De Niro. Yes, on Netflix, right? That's on my watch list. I haven't started yet. Is it good? I just started watching Meet the Fockers, Meet the Parents, and Fockers. So I'm kind of on like a De Niro binge right now. But then switching from the Fokker stuff to 0 Day, it's like comedy, hilarious, and I think 0 Day looks really serious, right? I don't know. I want to watch more like comedy shit.
In this case, Captain Keller, do you know for a fact that CPR had not been given?
I do not know for a fact.
And
You
do you
said it
know for a
looks like it
fact
wasn't
that
done.
CPR had been given
I know for a fact that we gave CPR.
prior to your coming in?
No.
No further questions.
All right, redirect.
Murder Bot series by Martha Wells. I don't think I'm familiar with that. Martha Wells, though, sounds like a name that I might have seen before. Murder Bot series. Oh my gosh. Righteous Gemstones, my favorite. It's so good. I fucking love that TV show. Dude, I love it so much. Yeah. I was trying to get my brother to watch Righteous Gemstones because there's so many hilarious like sibling antics on there. So I was trying to get my brother to watch it. He finally started watching recently. And then I don't know if my sister's gonna like it though. But yeah, Righteous Gemstones is so fucking good. Oh my god, it's hilarious. Judy is the best. Judy and Baby Billy. I fucking love the two of them.
Which do you see first, modeling or lividity? When the heart stops and the blood is no longer pumping.
Modeling.
Okay.
I would expect to see modeling first.
And you told us, I think on direct, that lividity is something that you see much later.
Yes. I would expect that, yes.
Have you?
You know what? Maybe they did talk about lividity in the Sarah Boone trial. Right? It could have been Sarah Boone trial where lividity came up. Because George was in the suitcase and the blood started pooling on the side where he was rested on. Yeah, Baby Billy Bible Bonkers. Oh my god, dude, I love Baby Billy. Walter Goggins is in so many shows and movies now. Fucking love him. He's in White Lotus, although the newest season of White Lotus I'm not really a huge fan of. He's in Borderlands, but not the Borderlands movie that like flop, but the TV show. So fucking good. And then what else was he in recently that I watch? He's in like so much stuff.
You treated patients before within a few minutes of their heart stopping.
Yes.
Do you see lividity in those people?
No.
Do you see modeling in those people?
No. You see skin conditions change in those people, gray or cooling.
Oh, sorry, Fallout. What did I say? Did I say Borderlands? Yeah, Fallout. Fallout's so good, yeah. Oh my god, I can't believe I said Borderlands.
Moist, moisture, but not modeling or lividity.
So you're not here to tell us how long it takes for those to form, right?
Hey, Ollie.
I don't know.
All you can tell us is that it's something that you see in patients who are deceased
Yes.
and have been deceased long enough, whatever time period that is, for that to happen.
Right. It is an indication of the patient no longer being a viable patient.
And that was one of the things that you noted and used in determining to end any life-saving measures.
Yes.
Now, is the only way to know if CPR has been given to be there with the person watching them?
No.
What else can tell you that CPR was given to a patient?
Well, PD on scene arriving would witness. The best way would be witness CPR.
That's the best way. Is there any other ways?
Well, yes. Again, you would have an indentation in the chest. The sternum would likely have been cracked loose from the rib cage. And there would be, in the case of trauma, increased bleeding. You do CPR or CCR sometimes when there's...
Remember how Alex Murdoch, he claimed that he did CPR on Maggie and Paul, but then he was wearing a white t-shirt that had absolutely no blood on it? I think that was something he overlooked because I think he wanted to wear a white t-shirt with absolutely no blood in it to show that he wasn't the killer, he wasn't the shooter, there's no blood splatter on him. But at the same time, it worked against him because it's like, okay, well, if you did CPR, like, where the fuck is the blood? Like, why do you have no blood on you? Why do you look so clean? Let's say you got blood in your face, you probably would have wiped it off, right? Where the blood at?
It's not trauma, cardiac.
In this case, were other indicators the blood that was pooling only at the neck and not spread out further?
Yes.
The lack of pooling underneath the victim?
Yes, and the mechanical action of decompressions with a gunshot wound right there would have spread blood in that area as well. It wouldn't just have gone where gravity is.
So where you saw the blood pooling was where gravity, a low spot.
That was my interpretation of it. Yes.
And you did not observe spread blood across his chest.
No.
Would ongoing CPR movement of the blood through the body have also limited the modeling you may have seen?
Perhaps.
Ultimately, is it your opinion that it is unlikely that CPR was given to this patient prior to fire arriving?
Yes.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
Are there any jury
I don't know. These like alleged killers, they need to just stop saying and lying that they did CPR. Just be like, I didn't do CPR because I was panicking. I don't know how to do CPR. I don't know. I heard that if you do CPR, you might make it worse by making the ribs crack. I don't know. Just fucking say you didn't do CPR, man. Stop trying to say that you did.
questions? I see at least one coming down. Please pass those down. Put on the white noise.
All right, jury questions. I hope they play it on stream. Jury question. You get to listen to it. I wonder if the jury can take notes. There are some trials where they don't allow the jury to take notes. I'm like, what the fuck? They can't take notes when there's so much. I don't know. Like, it's nice to pay attention and listen, but jotting down some notes here and there could really help jog some memory, especially if you're sitting there for weeks on end and you can't discuss it with anyone. Can't even look at your damn notes. I think it was in What was the trial recently that happened where they couldn't take notes? Was it the one with oh fuck. Why am I forgetting the name? The bridge guy. The trial with the bridge guy. What was his name again? Holy shit, I'm completely blanking. I have the photo of the bridge in my head. I have the image. Richard Allen case. Delphi case. There we go. There we go. We're connecting the dots here. Holy shit. I think I'm just really hungry. That's why. I think in the Delphi case, I don't think the jury were allowed to take notes. All right, jury. Question. Do we get to listen to the question? Maybe not? Uh-oh. Uh-oh, it's kind of quiet. I don't know if it takes this long to get the jury question. Slip. Form. Okay, it says it's a sidebar right now. Look at this. Court TV. I haven't watched Court TV in so long, but they got these overlays now. I like it, the labels. I was a little bit worried that the witness testifying, the labels were going to stay on the screen because that would have been distracting for me. But they're smart. They only left it up for a couple minutes. Oh boy. Maybe we don't get to listen to the jury questions.
All right, we have some juror questions for you.
Oh, we get to listen to it. Yay.
Was there any attempt to gain venous access to administer medications to aid the heart and functioning, i.e. ephedrine? If no, why not?
Oh, do we have someone who's a nursing professional or doctor or something that's on the jury?
It's not indicated for trauma. It doesn't, if the
Yeah, would that even help if you were dead?
if there's no blood to pump or the heart has stopped pumping, increasing how fast the heart pumps with ephedrine would do nothing. So in trauma, it is not indicated.
Was ACLS protocol followed?
Yes.
Was there a physician patched in?
No, there's no
ACLS protocol. American Heart Association CPR and first aid. ACLS algorithm. Cardiac arrest ACLS algorithm overview. So there's our algorithm number 1, cardiac arrest. Algorithm number 2, bradycardia. Algorithm number 3, tachycardia. Acute coronary syndrome. Suspected stroke algorithm. So I guess these are the process that you're supposed to engage in when you see a patient undergoes one of these different scenarios, maybe? Each ACLS algorithm is designed to simplify the process of management and treatment of patients experiencing a cardiovascular emergency or progressing towards a cardiovascular emergency. Most often, these emergencies are related to an arrhythmia, which must be identified and then treated with the appropriate ACLS algorithm. All right, that's what it means.
no patch required for cessation of
Or the juror really wanted to sound smart. Oh, man. The Karen Reed jurors?
No, there's no patch required for cessation of treatment. It is part of our ability and part of our
Oh, sorry. Did I skip? Hold on.
Patch
indicated.
Oh, sorry. Here we go.
Was ACLS protocol followed?
Yes.
Was there a physician patched in?
No, there's no patch required for cessation of treatment. It is part of our ability and part of our training to determine non-viability.
Are fire department personnel allowed to call a patient's death?
Yes. However, time of death is a different thing if that's what you're asking. In other words, we are allowed to stop attempting to do life-saving treatment if it's merely a recovery. So does that answer?
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have if the defense, first of all, let me check. Are there any other juror questions for this witness? I don't see any. The defense can follow up based on those questions if you want.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, how about the state?
Just a couple. Sir, when would you use ephedrine?
Well, if you had just asystole, but it was a cardiac-based code. If the heart had stopped due to some disease state, electric shock, for instance, you would use epi. Are you saying epinephrine
Yeah,
is what
yeah.
you're saying, right?
So when you're looking at whether or not to push drugs to try to get the heart to restart, you're looking at the type of trauma that caused the heart to stop.
And how long it's been since the heart stopped,
So in a place where you said there is trauma, meaning like a gunshot wound,
like a hole in the vessel, yes.
so that is treated differently than if someone has a heart attack and
Yes, yes.
you were asked about.
These are all algorithms, protocols that are given for us to operate on scenes under medical control to whoever asked about the patch.
What is then the ACLS protocol?
Advanced cardiac
Oh, I knew the state was going to ask questions like this. Look at her. She's clarifying. I didn't even have to Google it.
life support. And it's just, again, it's a flow chart. Are there obvious signs of death? Yes. Stop CPR.
So here, you followed that protocol and stopped CPR.
Yes, ma'am. CCR technically, but yes.
You were asked about contacting a physician, a patch or something for a cessation of treatment.
Right.
Are there times where you do patch in with a physician?
Sure. You would patch en route, not for a code. You would patch en route and give a doctor, or actually it would be a nurse answering the phone, but you would let them know what you have and what treatment you have given and what treatment you are going to give en route to their facility to continue care. We are primarily to stabilize and turn over the patient, making it more viable for a rescue.
So when you terminate treatment because a patient is not viable, you cannot revive them, you don't need to talk to a doctor about that.
No, you need to call in that you did it. So there would have been a patch after that, but you don't have to call in to cease treatment.
So you don't need a blessing by a doctor to stop life-saving treatment.
Well, no, we have the blessing through our certifications and through our training. So we are operating under a doctor's license at any time we are operating. So that doctor or this group of doctors usually understands our training level and agrees to trains us to make that decision, yes.
And so ultimately, as a paramedic, you have the authority to use that protocol to determine when you are no longer able to revive or
Yes.
save the life of a patient.
Cease life-saving functions, yes.
And that's what you did here.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
All right, you can step down. We're going to take our lunch recess. I'll remind the jury of the admonition. We will resume at 1:30 p.m.
All rise to the jury.
I think they come back, actually. Hold on. Someone wants to make an argument.
Advancements in what it had available to it at the time, and advancements in technology may change what was able to be extracted, but that's different than the state withholding information.
That was the state's reading of the affidavit. I think the
Oh, yeah. I think Lori accused the state of hiding some evidence or discovery or something like that.
other concern comes from the fact that back on March 18th, when the state was filing motions to preclude Lonnie Dworkin, the court had a discussion with the defendant about this, about whether or not she wanted to waive time to have time for her expert to do this.
Oh, no, I think this is a different motion. Okay, there's a motion about there's a expert witness that Lori Vallow wants to use, and I don't know if the state is trying to fight to exclude the witness.
At that time, the court asked her if there was any one device that she wanted to review, which was, from the defendant's own mouth, Charles Vallow's phone. So now we have a motion that was filed, mind you, 7 days after they received the affidavit from their expert. So they held off on disclosing that while we weren't in trial, and then in the middle of trial, filed it, asking for information on numerous other devices that are in various other police agencies' possession. So although I think ultimately, I mean, the big issue is clearly the state would object to any motion to dismiss. There is no exculpatory evidence. There's no even discussion of exculpatory evidence in Mr. Dworkin's statement or their very minimally fact-invasive motion, let alone any prosecutorial misconduct. But I think we're back to the issue of Mr. Dworkin and what he's going to be permitted to bring in or talk about at this point in this trial.
All right,
Okay, so we got two things that are happening at the same time. All right.
did you want to argue that motion right now?
Not right now.
Well, when do you want to argue it?
Well, do you want me to argue it right now?
I'm not asking you to, but I indicated when I read your motion that it does appear not to be any discovery violation, but that the state turned over the evidence that it had at the time, and advances in that software that maybe make more information available upon an extraction than was available when they did the extraction isn't a discovery violation. I'm looking at this as more of a discovery request for additional information, which at this point in the game, I'll allow you to do your discovery requests, but I don't know that any information that's discovered between now and the end of trial would be coming in because it's so late.
In reading that affidavit, I would agree with you that that was my initial thought as well. But the problem is that the problem that we have here is that that software was available and those things were available and they were not handed over from the state. They were never handed over from the state, and they've had that information for years. So that's why we filed that motion, is because
Okay, so we're going with a discovery violation from the state. This is
As our
something
expert was-
Lori filed.
able to download the one device that we got, that he was able to see that the complete downloads were never given, that these are reports of downloads when we know that the state had available the entire complete extraction in the first place. They just didn't give us the entire extraction. They gave us the reports of the extractions, the ones that they wanted us to have. So those were available according to the technology. They just didn't give them to us on all of the devices. But we only have proof of it on one device because that's the only device that we were able to do in a timely manner.
All right. I want to clarify a little bit. They gave you the full extraction that was available to them at the time.
No, they pulled a report from the full extraction and gave us that. That's what they gave us.
State want to respond?
Your Honor, when you extract data from a device like a cell phone, it is put into a formula where it is not readable by anyone.
Girl, I mean, she's not speaking to her microphone or something, or maybe she forgot to unmute her microphone. I guess read the caption so you can listen to it. It might be really hard to listen.
Which is why then you use the Cellbrite technology to basically parse that data into areas that we can read and view and review. So
Is that what was given to the
that is
defense?
what was given to the defense, was the 2019 or 2020 version of the Cellbrite technology that was used to take that extraction and put it into a readable form so that you can look at, for instance, not having to search through all this data to try to find out a text message. All of them are put together with dates and times and people and locations.
Your Honor, I would request that we can have a hearing on this so that I can bring in Lonnie Dworkin and he can explain that what they did not give us.
Well, just reading his affidavit is what they gave you is what they had available to them at the time. There's no affirmative duty for them to, every time a new software version comes out that makes maybe more data available, to rerun all the information.
We're not claiming that it is. We're claiming that they had a full extraction and they gave us a report of that full extraction instead of the full extraction on all the devices. It's not what only was available to them. They did have that available. They just didn't give it to us. It's cherry picking. It's
Okay.
cherry picking is what we got.
I don't read your own expert's affidavit the same way you're reading it, but
That's why I'd like him to be able to
Can we read the affidavit? Wait, Arizona, are we able to get these documents? Maybe I can read the affidavit myself.
come in and explain it. Can we set that up?
well, we can set that up at some point. But again, this is all late, and it's unlikely that anything that's happening would lead to him being allowed to testify. But maybe we'll do that this Friday or something. I don't know. We'll have to squeeze it in, but I'm not going to make the jury wait to do that.
Okay.
We'll be at recess until 1:30.
Arizona. Was Arizona the annoying state that was hard to get stuff? Wait, no, Alexi Treviso's in Arizona. She's in a different part of Arizona, I think. I wonder if we can get this affidavit somewhere. If you guys see the affidavit out there, let me know. Let me know if you guys see it. Okay, so the courtroom is on lunch break, but they've already started their session. Again, the stream is behind by 30 minutes because of the judge's order. What we can do, we can catch up with yesterday's testimony where I ended off. Because yesterday I left a little bit early because I was hungry. And I didn't think there was anything really too crazy that they're covering. So we're going to go to Nate Eaton's yesterday's tweets. So Scott Cowden, he testified this morning. That's who we were watching earlier. However, we were in the middle of this cross-examination. Here's a direct examination. Scott Cowden, he's a Chandler firefighter who testified in Lori's Idaho trial. You can hear his testimony from Idaho here. Cowden takes a stand and talks about the training firefighters need to get certified. He went to paramedic school, graduated in 2007. EMT is basic, entry-level position. Paramedics are more advanced with training and skills. Cowden was a CPR instructor for over 12 years and is certified in CPR. Cowden explains what CPR is and how the person giving chest compressions is acting for the heart, pushing blood throughout the body. CPR will be given to a person if they don't have a pulse and their heart is not beating. Trina, that's the state prosecutor. When you are called to a scene, are you guys given updates from the 911 operator so you know what to expect? Cowden says yes, they are given updates and there is a computer screen in their vehicle so that they can follow so they know what they are walking into. Cowden says if CPR is done, it has been done effectively enough. You can see an impression on the skin because you need to do it forceful and deep enough to force the heart to deliver blood. If you stop CPR during the call and then resume, you'll see where your hands were on the body. That area can be vulnerable to breaking, Cowden testifies. Cowden says he may not be able to hear a crunch or crack during CPR, but you can definitely feel it. He compares it to cracking knuckles, but more extreme. Cowden has felt it multiple times. In teaching CPR, you want to warn people of that. You don't want them to think that they have caused more harm. Trina asked Cowden if he has performed CPR on someone who was shot. He is pretty sure he has. She asked if blood could come out of a person's mouth when they are getting CPR after being shot. Cowden says yes, it could happen. Cowden remembers responding to a shooting in Chandler. There are typically at least 4-on-4 engines. A captain is up front. Cowden is a fire engineer, so he drives a fire apparatus. The two firefighters sit in the back seat. Cowden and his crew were about 30 seconds away from the morning of the shooting. Cowden says that on the way to the house, a computer screen said the patient was getting CPR. The police were also talking on the radio about Charles getting CPR. Oh, you're right. Sorry. She is New Mexico. Oh my gosh. Sorry. I have my wires crossed. Yes, she's New Mexico. I'm lying. Don't listen to me. I'm just really hungry. When the firefighters entered the house, an officer was inside. Nobody was giving Charles CPR. Cowden recalls the front room being empty and there was no furniture. That jumped out because it made it easier to work on Charles. Cowden says there was no signs of life from Charles, no breathing, moaning, etc. Definitely was a possibility. He was deceased and no obvious signs of life. Charles was unresponsive, pulseless, and not breathing. There was no signs of life, Cowden testifies. Cowden performed CPR. Trina shows a photo of firefighters and paramedics working on Charles. He describes the people who are in the photo. At first, Cowden did not see a depression in Charles's chest from someone else who may have done CPR. When Cowden started CPR, he felt the crack and crunch you would typically feel when you start CPR. Cowden did CPR for at least a minute. When another firefighter went to cut the shirt, Cowden told her to not cut through the bullet hole in his shirt. She cut around it, and Cowden did chest compressions. Charles had no heart activity. Cowden recalls seeing 2 gunshot wounds. They rolled Charles at one point, and another firefighter commented there were 2 wounds on the backside of the patient. Cowden wears gloves when he does CPR, and he had blood in his gloves when he did CPR. Cowden said there were changes in Charles's skin as blood had not been circulating. There were also injuries to his chest and abdomen, which caused internal injuries, so lividity was starting to form. Trina, the prosecutor, asked if there was anything about Charles that made him think CPR may not have been performed prior to Cowden arriving. It was just simply the fact that of what I saw on the chest when I first looked at it, and then when I felt during the first couple of chest compressions. Cowden says this was the first call for shift that day, and that shift begins at 8 a.m. Cowden and his crew made patient contact at 8:45 a.m. They discontinued and called the death at 8:48 a.m. Cowden recalls actively working on the patient for close to 5 minutes. Once the death, if called, firefighters leave the body and gather what they can, equipment, etc. Cowden recalls seeing an individual with a police officer in the driveway when he arrived. He did not notice any injuries in that person. En route, firefighters were told brother-in-law shot brother, so Cowden assumed it was that person. Trina asked if there was anything about Alex that made Cowden believe he was injured. Cowden says no. Cowden believes Charles was dead before he entered the house. Cowden believes it was highly unlikely anyone performed CPR on Charles. Trina has no further questions. Breaking for the day. All right. That was the end of yesterday's testimony, and I listened to it while I was eating. Next, while we wait, I do want to listen to this portion. Let's see. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's do... Where are we at right now? Let's see. They're still doing the lunch break. We have the screen up here. Okay. I will be right back. Let me just heat up my food really quick. I'll be back. And then I do want to watch an interview that Lori Vallow's cousin did that was posted today. So Lori Vallow's cousin is in the courtroom. Apparently, Lori Vallow doesn't really have any family support in the courtroom, and the cousin that is there is not there to support her, but is there to just, know the truth, know what happened, find out what happened. And she's going to talk about Lori before Lori got into this whole batshit crazy cult shit and Lori's demeanor. So I think that'd be very interesting to listen to. So let me heat up some food and I will be right back in probably like 2 minutes. Yeah, I heard that she wanted to call Nate Eaton as a witness for the trial. She wanted to call Brandon Boudreaux as well, and I think that's been denied because if Brandon Boudreaux, if he's going to be testifying, then I guess he wouldn't be allowed in the courtroom while listening to other testimonies. All right, I'll be right back. Dry cleaning? Huh? No. I actually forgot to bring my my water to refill. Let me refill my water really quick. Megan Connor or Megan Connor? I'm not too sure. I forgot her name. Okay, I changed my shirt because I didn't want to get any food stains on my white shirt. Okay, let's listen to the interview. And then when we're done with the interview, we should be right at the back to the hearing or the trial. My earbuds. Oh, tomorrow there's going to be a Koberger hearing. So I think tomorrow we're going to mainly cover the Brian Koberger hearing. And then maybe we'll jump back and forth with Lori Vallow depending on what's going on. And if you guys are not caught up with the Brian Koberger case, Idaho 4 murders, we put out some videos catching up on all the court documents and all the arguments that is happening between the state and the defense team. And oh my god, it is heating up. It is spicy. All right, y'all. Let me go over to News Nation. I think let's see. Maybe this part here. Where's the end? Oh, let's talk about the jury. The jury being dismissed. The reason why. Here we go.
Yeah, so the juror's employer actually sent in a note to the judge that, the employer had a problem with him having jury service. The judge questioned the juror a little bit about this at the lunch break. And
I wonder what line of work the juror was in. Was it something very important where this specific jury had to be there for work? Like maybe like deadlines had to be made or something like that? I don't know.
the juror basically said that he didn't know much about jury duty, and when he agreed, he didn't know that he wouldn't get paid, and he had child support and alimony, and this would really be a financial hardship on him. So ultimately, he was dismissed. The prosecution seemed a little bit more worried about it than Lori, obviously, because she's not worried about much. But I think they were frustrated to lose a juror on day one, for sure.
Oh, I mean, losing a juror on day one, that is really, I don't think I've ever seen that happen, but it does happen. I get it.
It has happened in some of the cases we've watched.
Lindsay, thank you so much. I really appreciate all the notes from court today. Really, really good to have you in there with the eyes and ears. And we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for this.
Thanks, Ash.
Okay, I am joined now by Megan Connor. Megan is Lori Vallow's cousin and was also in the courtroom today, and she happens to host the podcast called The Midlife Revolution. Megan, thank you so much for being with me. First, when I heard that you were in court, I had to do a mental calculation because I have heard that there is not one member of Lori Vallow's family or any supporters there for her. And then when I heard you were there, I still sort of thought she doesn't have any supporters. Am I right? You're not there for her? You're there as a witness?
No, I mean, if I can quote Hamilton, I'm not here for you. Definitely not there to support Lori. I'm there to learn the truth of what happened. And I'm there to get some measure of closure in my own, all the questions that I have in my mind of what happened in the days leading up to Charles's death and afterwards, how the Cox family behaved and who was involved and at what level.
Yeah, I can understand that. And my choice of words was wrong when I said a witness. I meant you wanted to see what was happening. You're not actually a witness going to,
Right.
take the stand in the case. But I wanted to ask you if the Lori that you saw today, because listen, you're a family member. We're really just seeing her speaking for the first time. She was silent during her trial. We saw her sit there, really, and she didn't take the stand. So this is very eye-opening to see this personality popping out. Is this the same Lori that you know, that you and your family grew up with, or is this someone you don't recognize?
Well, there's definitely an aspect to Lori that
Yeah, the Lori that we've seen the Lori in the police interviews. We've seen the Lori in the Hawaii body cam when they were serving her, I think, like a subpoena, when she was just like vacationing with her and Chad when her kids were missing. We saw the Lori. Where else have we seen her in? Body cams, the vacation videos. Yeah, I don't know if we've seen much of Lori. That's about it, right? Maybe her doing like some TV stuff. Oh, really? She's been on Mormon Story several times. She's really good. Oh, yeah. So she's not part of LDS anymore. So she was saying how she's like not really close with some of the members of her family or like that side of the family or something like that.
has changed over the last years. Her histrionic style, her religious zealotry, her delusion, those are things that have changed. But the tactics that she uses to try and get her way, to try and manipulate, to try and get what she wants, those are the same things that I personally have seen historically. And I know not all my
Mm.
family members agree with me about that, but my personal experiences with Lori, very much the same. Her fake crying today, I believe it was fake, and her basically trying to endear herself to witnesses and to jurors by sort of making jokes, pretending to laugh along. She was really trying hard to get people on her side. And that's kind of the Lori I've always seen. However, in a
Mm-hmm. That's the Lori that we saw in the interview and in the body cam. Do you know by any chance? I know Mormon Stories were having issues with the Adam Paul Steed story, and I think they eventually ended up having to take down that podcast episode. Has there been any updates on that?
courtroom setting, she has rules and she can't use the same tactics that have worked for her before. And I think that's really frustrating to her.
I can imagine. And you know what? The rules are tricky, even for people who know the law. It's very hard to navigate criminal procedure in that courtroom. And I'm about to ask someone who's an expert in this exactly how tricky it is and why, even when you know what you're doing, you don't know what you're doing. But I do need to ask you this. The rest of your family, how do they feel about you being there, and how do they feel about what's happening in this courtroom?
Well, I do want to point out that my uncle Rex was there today. This is Lori's uncle also, and he was there with three of his daughters. They came to some of Lori's previous trial. I think it's important to them to see some of the evidence in this case. They've all lived close to each other for a long time. I will just say I have a different perspective from a lot of my family members because I've distanced myself from this particular part of the family, the Cox part of the family, for a long time. And I also am no longer a part of the LDS church. And so my perspective from the outside is very different than the perspective of a lot of my family members. I've also been through a great deal of therapy and healing. And so I have a hair trigger for manipulation and control. I recognize those tactics like right off the bat. And for other family members, it's a little bit harder for them to accept that this is the way that Lori has always been.
Megan, I'm really appreciative of you being on the show and being so candid. And I'm very sorry that
Kobe Ryan said this is the mother. She was not nice. He was realizing that no, she was not a good mom. Damn. Oh, is it his birthday today? Nice. I think he's like younger than me. Is he like late 20s? Hi, Aaron. How are you doing today? How's it going? Hello. Yeah. But it must feel nice to also let the whole world see what a monster your mother is. Because a lot of times when children deal with these like horrible monster moms, these monster moms continue on, manipulating other people, just being horrible people, and end up not really getting confronted. So I hope he gets some sort of resolution with Lori. Oh, you're also a member of the Ex-Mormon Club. How's it going, Aaron? How are you? All right, we should be back in court soon. All right, they got the music going, so we're not going to play that. Let's go back here.
You and your family are going through this as well. This
Me
can't be
too.
easy for any of you. So I hope I can speak with you again as this progresses.
Of course, I'm always happy to come on your show. I enjoy your show and I enjoy your podcast. So I'm happy to do it.
Oh, I appreciate that. You know what? For that, I'm going to just do the quick plug again. Megan Connor's podcast is called The Midlife Revolution. Thank you, Megan. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Ashley.
I want to turn now to a defense attorney who, unlike Lori, actually has a law degree and thousands of hours of practice. It's Mark Eiglarsh, friend of the show, friend of mine. It's not easy, is it? It's not like it looks like on Suits. It's not like it looks like on LA Law. Criminal procedure, on your feet, in a courtroom, litigating is hard.
Yes. So let's start with something I agree with you. It is difficult and it should be left for those who went to law school. That said, Ashley, I don't come on your show to disagree with you. I just find myself doing so every now and then. First, yes, she should have had her own lawyer. Secondly, she did a horrible job on cross-examination. Third, if she said, the evidence will show one more time, I was going to wring her neck metaphorically. That said, I'm giving her a B as in boy minus on her opening statement. She was passionate. And by the way, I'm no fan of the murderer. She was connecting with what she was saying. She took her time. When she was describing the important details of what occurred, you almost felt like you were there, that this looked like self-defense. Obviously, it's all hogwash.
Maybe B for bombed. I don't know. I thought she bombed her opening statement. I felt like it could have been way more passionate. I felt like she would have told a way more compelling story. Let's bring in all the lies. Like, oh, Charles was abusive. It was horrible to me. I think her saying the evidence would show over and over again was probably like a distractor and then probably like an annoyance for the jury. I don't know if they end up getting used to hearing that. Maybe like 5-10 minutes in. But I would have been like kind of annoyed. Like, let's just get to the point, lady. Come on. 29. No, he's way younger than I am. The evidence would show that my opening statement was amazing. Too repetitive. He was on Hidden True Crime and it was a good interview. 27, I believe. Maybe 27, maybe 29.
Wash, but all it takes there, that this looked like self-defense. Obviously, it's all hogwash, but all it takes is one juror to believe in what she's saying. And every time the prosecution objects, every time the judge shuts her down, they could feel for her like she's doing the best she can, and these smarty pants lawyers are shutting her down.
Let me ask you this, Mark, because we've talked about the
I don't know if they would get mad at the attorneys objecting and shutting her down. I feel like since they know that she's not an attorney, they might get more frustrated with Lori, who's trying to pretend to be an attorney, and then not knowing the rules of the courtroom and slowing things down.
blunders. We've talked about the complete inability to understand hearsay. This is going to keep happening, and it's going to be very frustrating for these jurors that the judge is going to have to continue schooling her like this. And eventually, the judge may not want to school her anymore. I am more concerned, though, with if and when her triple murder conviction comes into the case.
That's what I was saying. I was saying that, like, Lori might fuck up. She might fuck up, and she might actually bring in her previous conviction. I don't know. I don't know if she opens a door, can the state use it against her?
We hear about prior bad acts all the time. They're not always allowed in. Those are going to make their way in. It's a question of how and when.
Yeah, well, if it does, again, I don't know that the judge ruled that that's admissible. Is that your understanding? Because if so, that would grossly prejudice this jury. They hear that, they're done. If that does come into this case, which I don't believe it should because it's so more prejudicial than probative. And again, you wanted to get a fair trial. You don't want to do this twice. I don't think it should come in. If it does, she is done.
Well, I think it's going to come in because I think she is going to take the stand because she is literally on the stand
He has the exact same birthday of your boss. How do you make your boss's birthday? Or I guess maybe you guys do like, I don't know, celebrations or something. Born in 1996. Oh, still considered a baby to me.
Almost in, you know, demonstrative ways in this courtroom. But let's have this conversation again, because this is something I just don't know how or when it's going to happen. But she's so terrible at understanding criminal procedure, she's going to open a door. I believe she will inadvertently open a door, because even great lawyers open a door by mistake, and then all that stuff floods in. Will you?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Remember the Murdoch stuff, the financial stuff wasn't supposed to come in, the roadside shooting wasn't supposed to come in. Oh, it fucking came in. The door was open. Oh boy. All right, we back yet? Almost back.
Come back when that, if that happens, when that happens?
I will. And on that last point, I do agree with you.
Oh my gosh. Can we just make sure that's on tape? This is on tape, right? Mark Eiglar just agreed with me. I've waited my whole career for that. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
Do you guys know if Law and Crime are they going to be streaming it? Because they streamed this case yesterday, but I don't think they're streaming it today. All right, well, let's go into spoiler territory because we're being impatient. I'm waiting for the court to come back. We are waiting. All right, back to Mr. Nate Eaton. We're going to look at his tweets. We're back in court. Trina K raises a concern that a juror was looking at their phone during prior testimony and then submitted a very detailed question to the judge. Boreski is calling in the juror. Why the fuck does a juror have their phones with them? I thought they take the phones away. What is going on with the fucking Arizona jury? Guys, get your shit together. What is going on over here? It might be that juror that asked that very detailed question. I was like, oh, I wonder if they're in the medical field. Okay, let's see. What's the excuse? Juror says, juror tells the judge he was texting his daughter, was not looking at anything on his phone. Why do they have their phones on them? Don't they take the phones away? The judge tells him to turn his phone off. The rest of the jury would now be brought into the courtroom. Okay. All right. No jury misconduct so far. Lori asks about the calling of the next witness is Daniel Coons with the Chandler Police Department. She wants to know if he's testifying as an expert or police officer. She says it's an issue that was never resolved last week. Jurors remain out of the courtroom. Lori feels the state is trying to pull him on as an expert to give his opinion rather than the facts. Lori says she was not given enough time to get someone to rebuttal his opinion. Judge says he's inclined to allow Coons to testify as an expert because he has the training and experience that can assist a jury in making a decision. Excuse me. Boreski tells Lori she is free to cross-examine and question him. Quote, this type of testimony is what a lot of people have experience with guns could have an opinion on. You can cross-examine him on his knowledge, training, and experience, Boreski says. He's allowing the witness in. Trina says the defense was able to interview Coons in March and could have questioned him about his experience. Dun dun. The judge asked Trina if she intends to ask the witness about what shot was first versus what shot was second. She responds that the issue will come up as Coons attended the autopsy. Ooh, we're getting some details here. I don't think your medical expert could say which shot was first or second, the judge says. He is allowing the witness in, but tells Lori she's free to ask him questions. Lori says she does not understand how the shot order is relevant to conspiracy. The jury is seated. The next witness, Daniel Coons, comes on in. Trina K brings out a tote full of items wrapped in plastic wrap. What do we got here? A murder weapon, maybe? Coons is sworn in. He is a detective with the Chandler Police Department, worked in the department for over 30 years. He explains his training. Are we back yet? We're not back yet. Okay, I'm gonna just keep checking. Going back and forth. Did I see that? No? Corey Richards got delayed? What do you mean got delayed? You mean the hearing got delayed or the trial got delayed? Wait, what got delayed? Hold on a second. No, I didn't hear anything. Corey Richards? Delayed. Oh, there's an appeal over the change of venue. Yeah, she's trying to, well, actually, hold on a second. From what I've remembered, she did not want to change the venue because she likes the current place that she's being held at. What she wanted to have the jury to come from a different county or some shit. Let's see. KUTV. All right, Corey Richards real quick, y'all. And then I remember the state prepared this whole, oh my God, we're getting balaclavas now. Guys, I'm not trying to murder anyone, okay? This is just from my research from the Koberger stuff. Now it's popping up on here. Go away. Report this ad. Can I make it so they stop doing that weird shit? All right, Corey Richards' trial on hold until after appeal over change of venue. The murder trial of Corey Richards has been indefinitely delayed following a Summit County judge's decision to deny a change of venue request filed by the defense. During a hearing Monday in Utah's 3rd District, Judge Richard Mrazek, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he's an amazing judge. I like him. Ruled against moving the trial out of Summit County. Yep, despite concerns about pre-trial publicity possibly impacting Richards' ability to receive a fair trial. Based on, what the fuck? Get out of here. Oh my God, the Dix is back. I don't want the Dix. Go away, Dix. No! Oh my God, I opened the Dix. Oh God, Dix is even better. Oh God, go away, go away. We're not buying any ski masks, okay? I live in California. We don't need them. We don't need them. That was my research for the coworker stuff. And now we got eggs. All right. What is this? What is this eggs thing? Is it letting me know that my eggs are starting to be rotted or something? I'm a little suspicious about the age thing here. Okay. Well, let me do this. Zoom. This is how I get rid of the ads. All right. All right, what do we have here? April 7. Defense has filed a motion to continue the trial, which was scheduled to begin in 2 weeks. Defense also moved to stay the case and expand the gag order. The judge refused to grant the change of venue, and the defense plans to appeal the decision to a higher court. In the meantime, he granted a motion to stop other pretrial hearings. Well, I guess, wow, my calendar just opened. I was expecting to, I was going to cover the Corey Richards trial, like from beginning to fucking end. I guess we'll have more time to cover the Karen Reed stuff, maybe. Richards, who's been in jail for 2 years, faces 9 serious charges, blah, 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 blah. An expert witness for the defense, Dr. Brian Edelman, testified about the potential effects of local media coverage on public opinion, citing survey data shows that 70% of respondents had discussed or heard about the case online. Oh God, I have to sneeze. Hold on a second. Never mind, sneeze canceled. This is a relatively small community. You can say 70% have talked about the case or heard about the people about it online. Okay, what about the 30%? There's research on this and it shows that favorable pretrial publicity is not as impactful as negative pretrial publicity. Judge Mrazek acknowledged intense media attention surrounding the case. The court finds there has been extreme level of media attention for the case and that coverage has been incomplete and misleading, he said, later adding, the nature and extent of the media coverage of this case is an indictment, I guess, of those media outlets in our current media culture. However, Judge concluded there's no sufficient evidence to justify moving the trial. Considering the factors as a whole, the court does not find a reasonable likelihood that a fair trial cannot be had unless defendant motion to change venue is granted. Immediately following the ruling, Richards' defense team filed an appeal and motion to stay the case and continue the trial, effectively pausing proceedings. We will take an emergency appeal, one of Richards' attorneys told the judge. I don't think it will take years, but we know it will take a minimum of months. Fudge. That's not good. I don't want the Corey Richards case to overlap with the Idaho 4 murders trial. Former prosecutor turned criminal defense attorney Nathan Evershed told KUTV that many attorneys do follow the case closely and weren't surprised by what happened. None of this is a surprise to any of us who work in the criminal field. There are major issues and the stakes are as high as you can get. KUTV asked him about the likely outcomes of this appeal of her change venue denial. What the defense would have to say, the judge that ruled on this one is wrong. The appellate judges would have to agree with the defense. Can that happen? Absolutely. It's very possible where the judges just say, we agree with the district court judge. It's not going to be changed. It's also very possible where the appellate judges just say, we're not going to hear on this right now because it's just not ready for us to hear this. Okay. The defense team must submit a brief to the appellate court as the judge denied her attorney's request to try and change her custody status. She'll likely sit in jail for another year. Holy shit, really? Before another trial is possible as the request goes through the court system. Jeez. Okay. Well, if it's another year, then I'm fine with that. I'm fine with another year. If it was going to clash with Idaho 4 trial, I wouldn't have liked that. But I mean, that's more time for the Richards family to have to wait in order to get justice. So I'm pretty sure the victim's family are not happy about this. Having to delay it, wait another year. All right. Are people really raw dogging the internet with the ad blockers? I used to have ad blockers on my computer, but I removed it because if I have too much like Chrome extension shit, it kind of slows down my computer and I don't like it. So I just choose what I prioritize, which is volume booster on YouTube, and I have like 2 different types of volume boosters on YouTube. And then I don't know, I have like Rakuten extension or something like that. But yeah, I try not to have too many Google Chrome extensions on here. It like slows it down. All right, y'all. I think they should be back. They're not back yet? What's going on here? They're not back yet. Okay, well, let's go back on the other issue. All right, so Corey Richards delayed, it seems. Let's go back here. Coons is sworn in. He's a detective with the Chandler Police Department and worked for the department for over 30 years. Actually, why are they so delayed? I thought they started on time. I'm confused. He explains his training. Trina asked about Coons' training with SWAT. He was cross-examined to be a sniper, and a regular entry officer type stuff. He eventually became a sniper instructor. He talks about what that entailed. Trina asked Coons if he ever became a shooting reconstruction expert. He did. He attended a 40-hour course that was hands-on. At the end, there was a test he had to pass to get certified. That's it, though? Is there more? 40 hours course? I wonder if Trooper Paul took a 40 hours course to be a crash reconstructionist. Sorry. Trina asked Coons if he had used the skills he learned in the course during his work as a police officer. He has. Coons was working with the Chandler Police Homicide Unit on July 11, 2019. Oh! Why is the live court cut off? What the nonsense is going on here? Okay, I guess we're just going straight on in.
About your training to become a SWAT officer and what a SWAT officer does.
So there are many jobs within SWAT.
Why is it so dark in here? Are we testifying in the dark? Did electricity go out? What's going on?
Regular officers that typically will do entry. There's some that specialize in breaching, some specialize in grenadiers, and then we also have the snipers. So I was cross-trained to do the regular basic entry officer stuff, as well as I became a sniper, and eventually I became a
Wait, did Trooper Paul took a 4-hour course? I don't remember. Oh, all I know is after that, you know, Canton PD, I'm sure they're changing a lot of things, okay? Or no, did Trooper Paul work for... Oh, did he work for the state police? No, I think he was with the state police. Yeah, they need an overhaul of like how they do their things. Oh my God. Fucking wild. I can't believe Trooper Paul was a crash reconstructionist guy. And then he was like talking about physics, but then he didn't know basic physics. I don't know. It was just crazy. It was a wild case. Hopefully trial 2 will be a lot better. We'll see what happens. Let's see.
sniper instructor.
Okay, so what kind of training did you have to go through to become a sniper and sniper instructor?
So the sniper training was a basic 40-hour course. I attended that with the FBI. And as time progressed, I would attend advanced sniper trainings so that I could enhance my skill set.
Man, I feel bad for all these fellas, man. They're all like retired. They're all retired right now. They're like, man, we gotta come in and testify at this fucking trial.
And eventually, after having been on as a sniper for a while, I attended a 40-hour sniper instructor course.
Who is that
Cool.
with?
That was with the American Sniper Association.
As a trainer for snipers, what did that entail?
It entailed having to have a good working knowledge of the actual job, the ballistics that the rifles need to perform, knowing how to train new snipers, knowing how to keep snipers that have achieved certification to keep their skill sets up, and to keep meeting the mandates of what would be expected of a police sniper.
How are you, Kat?
Did you ever become a shooting reconstruction expert?
I did.
Can you tell us, what does that mean?
It means that I attended a course, it was a 40-hour course, where it was completely hands-on. There was classroom, a lot of hands-on with you, not only
Oh, hello. The lights have turned on now. Okay, now we can see a little bit better.
see the results of different impacts and things like that, but you watch it happen, and then in some cases you actually get to make it happen. And then after that, you, as a class, you work together, putting things back together, and at the end of the 40 weeks, there is a test that you have to pass to get certification.
Hey, Salsa, busy day at work?
40 weeks?
Or, sorry, 40 hours, sorry.
So what does, I guess, shooting reconstruction mean, if you had to explain that to us?
It means being able to take information from a scene and being able to put it together to reconstruct as best as possible or humanly possible
what happened. For instance, you have bullet strikes. In some cases, you can actually get a good angle or ballistics information so that you can backtrack it and get an approximate area where the shooter had to have been. In many cases, you can help articulate whether information given to you was factual or if the information given to you was not. And this is very handy when there are no witnesses and you only have basically the person saying what happened.
Is there any type of certification process to be a shooting reconstruction expert?
Yes, at the end of that course, I had to successfully complete a test in order to get certification.
And when did that occur?
That was in, I believe, early 2017.
Who is that through? Who puts that on?
It was with Michael Haig, his company.
Who is Michael Haig?
He is part of a duo, father-son duo, that have become quite renowned for their ability to do ballistics and then teach it and train other people with it.
Okay. And have you utilized those skills that you learned in that shooting reconstruction course as a detective since then?
Yes, many times.
I assume you passed the certification test?
I did.
Okay. So on July 11th of 2019, were you working as a detective at that time for the homicide unit at the Chandler Police Department?
Yes, I was.
During the weekdays, what were your, I guess, work hours normally?
My normal work hours were Monday through Thursday, about 7 to 5.
When you are working as a detective, we've heard a patrol is out driving around. What are you guys doing?
Well, we carry a caseload. So many times we are working on the cases that we've taken previous days or weeks ahead of time. We're trying to come to a conclusion for those particular cases. But many times we also will have our radios on, just kind of listening to what's going on.
So are you at your office is at the main police station?
Correct.
Okay. On July 11th of 2019, did you hear some police radio traffic of a shooting at 5531 South Four Peaks Place?
Yes, I did.
Did you respond to the scene?
After collecting some equipment and putting it in my vehicle, yes.
Is that normal then for detectives with homicide to go out to the scenes?
For the unit at the time, yes, it was.
Can you describe for us what the scene looked like when you arrived?
There were police vehicles around. There were officers that had established a perimeter. Some crime scene tape was already put in place. And they basically had frozen the scene.
Do you recall about how far away this scene was from the station where you were located?
15, 20-minute drive.
When you arrived there, were other detectives arriving? How does that work?
There were several of us that had self-deployed, and we were in various stages of being on our way there. So other detectives did arrive.
How do you decide which detective is going to do what at a scene when you all just show up there?
Well, a lot of times it's just a matter of who speaks up first saying, I'm going to take case. If it's after hours, then the person that's on call will usually be the person to do it. But if it's during regular business hours, it's kind of like a little wrestling match to figure out who's going to end up taking it.
What role did you get?
I got assigned the scene.
Okay. What does that mean to be assigned scene?
So the scene work, assigned scene, means that you're responsible for making sure that the scene is processed properly.
The garden is good. I actually got 3 more plants. Like every time I go to the store, I see a plant, I'm like, I want. I need to stop doing that. But I got 3 plants that I'm excited to plant. And one of them, well, actually, I don't know one if it's an indoor plant or not, but it's a one of those like shamrock plants. But the leaves are so pretty; they're like a dark purple. Oh my god, so pretty. So I don't know if it's an indoor plant or outdoor plant, but I bought it and I was like, I'll figure it out later.
Accumulate whatever evidence is necessary, report back to the actual case agent your findings so that they can stay aware of how things are transitioning and being learned, and then they can start making informed decisions on what the next step is going to be.
Do you do that alone or do you have help?
It depends on the scene. In this particular case, I had Detective Duncan along with me.
And do you have any, does Chandler Police Department have any like crime scene specialists or people that come up to help as well?
Yes, when I left the crime scene officer program, they had actually started a civilian program so that they could free up the officer's responsibility. So Chandler has several crime scene techs that will respond out when called.
And was someone called out to that scene?
Yes.
Do you sort of, as the scene agent, help, I guess, tell them what to do? Are you the person who's overseeing the whole scene?
It's more of a collaborative effort. We do provide direction on things that we're specifically interested in, but I've worked with them for many years, so it's pretty easy for us to just understand, all right, some of the basics that have to be done, such as overall photographs. Before we even think about manipulating anything or marking anything, we want to try to capture the scene as it was that we walked into it.
As the scene agent, did you create a diagram to just reflect what the scene looked like?
Yes.
And is that to scale?
It's not to scale. It's close, but it's not to scale.
Your Honor, if I can have my paralegal approach with Exhibit 5.
Ooh, can we see the diagram?
Page in there.
It is.
Is that the sketch and then the second page measurements of that diagram that you made?
Any objection? Exhibit 5 is.
No objection.
That's not what
Oh, here's a diagram. Let's go to Idaho. Oops. Theater mode. There we go.
we understand where we see these little yellow placards. What do those indicate on your diagram?
On this diagram, they indicate the items of evidence for that particular room.
Okay. And do they?
So this is the dance room. I think this is the entrance where law enforcement came in. That's where the mirrors are on the right side. Yeah, because I remember the firefighter paramedic says he walked in and then Charles's head was like facing them.
They each have a number associated with them.
Yes.
And is the
I know, I love visuals.
second page of your diagram a reflection of what each of those numbers refers to?
Yes, it is.
We see in this A, B, and distances. What is that?
So the reference points for this particular purpose, we did a triangulation method. So we take measurements from 2 known points in that room, and then we measure out to the item of interest. And then that was how we get a point A and a point B measurement.
All right, so at the first page here, that's the actual diagram. What is the reference points that you are using to make these distance measurements?
So the
Do I think she'll be able to create doubt in this? There's a lot that she has to overcome. So she needs to show that maybe Charles Vallow had a history of being abusive towards her and that they were in doubt, like they're in no doubt fear of their life. But the second thing to climb over would be having to explain the second bullet being found in the ground. I don't know how she's going to explain that. Like, was Charles like crawling towards Alex maybe? And that's why Alex shot him because he was in fear of his life? I don't know. I mean, Lori says she didn't even see the actual shooting. She said she heard it when she was in the kitchen. So she doesn't even actually know what happened. Maybe she can play dumb. I think it'd be really hard to. But she's going to have to show that, like, yeah, you know, he had an history of being really abusive and he was coming after me. And here are the text messages. Oh my God, they're so bad. But I don't know. Lori has a lot of explaining to do. A lot of explaining to do. In the Marvel Temple, there was a room with mirrors. It's very similar to Lori's dance room. I think that's exactly why she wanted a room like that in her house. Because I don't know if Lori does, if she does any like dance stuff. I know she's like a hairstylist, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if she like does like, I don't know, like ballerina or some shit like that.
Reference points are not depicted on this diagram, but in this particular room,
Oh, there's the bat.
if you look at the wall where items number 2 and 12 are, the upper or the left upper corner is B, and if you go straight down towards the kitchen area, that along that wall, that corner is A.
Okay. So
Hey, Kelly, what did you miss so far? So far, it's been quite of a quiet day. There was a juror that was dismissed. I think that was the same juror from yesterday, though, the one that had the work issue. There's another juror who spoke up and said that they have seen a YouTube video about this case, but they don't remember it. They just got their memory jogged yesterday while watching the body cam footage, I guess. But they kept that juror on. And then so far, we've heard testimony from firefighter, paramedic, law enforcement. It's just been kind of quiet. Not too much happening, really. Lori's trying to I think she's trying to show that maybe, maybe the rescuers didn't follow protocol. Maybe they could have done more or better to rescue or save Charles. And that maybe the reason why, or trying to prove that, like, oh, maybe Alex Cox did do CPR. I don't know. Somewhere around there. It's all fuzzy and hazy. But right now, we're looking at the diagram of the house. This is Charles Vallow. That's, I'm assuming, the baseball bat. And I think there should be a baseball cap somewhere around here. Maybe up here, maybe. I don't see a picture of it. But I think he's going to talk about the bullet and then the projection and stuff like that.
So
Lori the ballerina.
when we see a reference measurement from A of 21 feet to the bat, we're talking 21 feet this way would be where the bat was?
No, you're talking 21 feet from that corner, straight line to the bat.
Okay. So whatever the closest
hypotenuse
measurement or closest way to get there would be?
Correct.
So for the bat, it would be something like that?
Correct.
Okay. And then when we see reference point B for the bat, then you're talking from this point to the bat?
Correct.
Okay, just so we understand that.
Oh, and apparently, one of the witnesses testified, the firefighter that responded to the scene, said that he overheard a conversation from Lori saying something about how she wasn't going to be invited to a pool party because of what was going on or some shit like that. And then there was a hot mic happening where someone said, "What?" And I think that could have been Lori's voice, but I don't know. Was Lori upset more about not being invited to a pool party than Charles's death in the living room? Maybe. Hi, Auntie. How are you doing today? How's it going? Hello. What have you been up to?
When Chandler Police Department goes to a scene like this, do they utilize any type of photography system to help better document a scene so that you can see things more clearly sometimes than with photographs alone?
Yes, depending on the scene, we would use a system.
Oh, true. She probably wanted to go to somewhere to celebrate afterwards. Mm-hmm.
Called the Lizard Q.
What is Lizard Q?
It's,
Was there what now?
in essence, a 360-degree photographic system that you set up on a tripod inside or wherever your location is, inside, outside. And you start the process, and the internal computer for this system specifically takes a set number of pictures where it's overexposed all the way to underexposed, and the images in between. And it does this at various locations along the path to create enough overlapping images, and then those images are stitched together and actually create a 360-degree sphere of the scene.
Did you have to get trained on how to use Lizard Q?
There was some training involved, yes.
If, again, my paralegal can approach with Exhibit 139, you can take a look at that. You recognize a thumb drive that is in Exhibit 139.
Yes.
What is on that thumb drive?
On this thumb drive will be the Lizard Q spheres.
Okay. And is there a reader on there so that you can actually view it?
Correct.
There's a piece of paper in there as well. What is that?
The piece of paper is a set of instructions on how to use the Lizard Q viewer so that you can view the spheres.
Okay. And did you initial the thumb drive to indicate that you had viewed it and you recognize that as the Lizard Q that you created on July 11th of 2019?
I have,
Or did you actually create that?
I created the thumb drive.
Yay, thumbs up. Thank you so much, Kat, for the thumbs up. I think Lori had a what now? A BQ that night? Oh, a barbecue that night. I heard. Maybe wrong? Yeah, a barbecue? No, I think they were taken in for questioning at the police station, and then from what I heard, she went to Alex's house and they were going through Charles's phone and taking screenshots between Charles and Adam. But I don't know, maybe they're also having a barbecue or something. I don't know.
And that's your thumb drive that you put it onto?
Yes.
All right. State will move to admit Exhibit 139.
139.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
139 submitted.
Judge,
time is
at
the
this
Cope
point,
over here?
might I ask the witness to come down here to utilize the Lizard Q? I can sit at the table, but it needs to be put into a computer to do that, and I don't think we can hook it up there. All right, so if you can insert that on that laptop in there. Yeah, thank you. I'm sure I might have to look
All right, we're setting up.
at. How do you get to viewing this program?
So first, you'll have to double click on
Hold on, one sec, I'm sorry, we're waiting for it to. Yes, the USB is in that laptop up there on the podium.
Hi, Kay. How are you doing today? It's been quite of a quiet, slow day. The main thing that really perked my ears was the fire captain saying that as he was leaving, he heard Lori complaining about not being invited to a pool party because of the shit that's been happening, I guess. I don't know. Something like that. Not being invited to a pool party after Charles was shot. But I will say that there was a hot mic happening and someone said, what? So that could have been Lori. Oh no. I mean, wait, was that during redirect? Was it during redirect? Because I was like, Lori could have cross-examined about that, but maybe that was during redirect and she didn't have a chance to ask him, what pool party are you talking about? But yeah, we just heard from firefighter, paramedics, firefighter/paramedics, and then we're listening to a witness right now who might be able to tell us about the crime scene and then the projection of the bullets, I think. But we did have did anything happen with the jury? Oh yeah, there's like the jury was on the phone texting or something. The judge told him to turn off the phone.
PM. There. Yeah.
So first you need to double click on the lizardqviewer.exe so it can open it up. And then it's going to ask you where to look for the spheres. And then you just double click on the sphere you choose to open up and it will open it up for you.
Can you?
Once you have the sphere open, you want me to just...
Yeah, if you.
Oh, okay. We're seeing this screen right here. Oh gosh, we could barely see.
You can just tell us how to work that first, and then we'll ask a few questions.
So once you have the sphere open, if you depress the left mouse button, you can actually move the images around. Without depressing the mouse button, you can zoom in and you can zoom out with the scrolling wheel. If you depress the right mouse button and use the scrolling wheel, this will darken or lighten your sphere. It will give you the ability to look outside as opposed to just the photographs washing it out normally so you can see inside. With this particular...
Hopefully tomorrow there will be no jury drama.
Through the program, you can open up multiple windows, but you'll really only be able to view one at a time, but you can go back and forth between them.
So for this sphere that we're looking at, we see Charles Vallow there, correct?
Yes.
And then there's some white cards that we see around the room. What are those?
Those are 3x5 cards that officers have dropped in the scene. A lot of times they'll do that to help identify to detectives items that they observed and to be a warning to other officers to watch out for these items as you're either moving through or exiting the scene.
Is the Lizard Q program then used prior to the scene being documented? And let me say this. We saw in your diagram, Exhibit 5, that there were little yellow placards or numbered items. Is that something that's actually done in the scene? So we were looking at the bat, for instance.
Correct. So in this particular moment in time, we just merely left it with the placards there. Again, it was attempting to capture the scene as we as an investigative unit found it. There can be times that we'll do this first and eventually go through putting evidence placards down and then maybe do another sphere showing all the evidence placards.
So would it be fair to say that this is done to document the scene prior to police going through and having maybe digging through areas to find potential evidence?
Right. It's much like when we do overall photographs with the 35 millimeter camera. This is just another enhancement of that.
For this room where we see Mr. Vallow, do we have two different spheres?
Yes. In this particular room, I did a lower sphere, and then I raised it on the tripod that you can see in it to another height, and then I did a sphere there. So we have a program that we can combine those and make it a measurement sphere. So we could do measurements linear, but not to and from the camera because of its limitations.
So what is provided here is without measurements?
That is correct.
Okay. And without anything being marked yet?
Aside from the 3x5 parts.
Can you show us the lower level sphere as well?
This is the lower level.
Okay, then the upper level one, sorry.
So we can't look at it probably because obviously Charles' body's not blurred. The jury can see it. That's why we're not really seeing anything. Oh, did you get to go to, oh, I think this is broken. Right? Oh, no, I don't like
As
this
you can
one.
see,
This
your
one's like
point of view has
basic.
changed a little bit, but the room has remained the same.
Okay. And that's all using the same initial placement of that tripod, but just moving the camera height up higher or lower? All
Correct. The tripod has the ability to elevate to the platform that the camera is actually on.
right, thank you. Connor, could I have the witness go back to the?
Yep.
Thank you. I'm going to turn this for now.
No, there's an order that was canceled on E-Trade. Is that you?
So, although that documents what the scene looked like that we saw prior to the marking of evidence, as a scene agent, do you still utilize photographs?
100% yes.
Why?
It's just an added failsafe. The Lizard Q can, if you do the Lizard Q, then you're restricted to just the view from where that camera is at. When we do overall photography, we actually move around and get it from different perspectives. This is just another tool in the ability to show what the scene looked like.
Oh my gosh. Did you also photograph rooms where the Lizard Q was not used?
Yes.
When you photograph a scene, what is the process for that?
I'm not sure I understand.
Sure. When you enter a scene as a scene agent and you are looking at one like this, do you just go into the room where this person is and just photograph that area and that's it?
No, we would photograph the entire place to document it. The Lizard Q, because of the volume that it takes and not necessarily information that would require the setup of a sphere, then we will just stick with the crime scene photos for those particular rooms.
Okay. So I can have my paralegal approach with exhibits 6 through 138. Photographs are.
Don't forget, after Lori had a beach wedding with Chad, after the children are dead, husband dead, the new husband's ex-wife dead, this lady is a monster. Yeah, that's why it's really hard for me, and I'm sure a lot of people here, to try to be really patient with Lori in this trial and really give her a benefit of the doubt. Tough. supposed to be muting their mic, but they're not doing that? Okay, I'm just forwarding through this. All right, we're caught up. Yeah. Especially when she's trying to use those same very children in this trial to make it seem like she was a caring and loving mother. All right, I think I'm going to be ending soon. Because I think it's probably just going to be more kind of like a law enforcement testimony, although I'm sure parts of his testimony will be important, but I'd rather hear from the medical examiner when talking about the injuries. I think he's going to talk about maybe the projection. Let me go to... Let me play this out. Let me see what's going on 30 minutes ahead of us. Photographs. Oh, are these like the photographs that we're looking at right now? Trina now moves to admit over 100 photographs. As the officer looks at the photos, Trina begins taking items wrapped in the shrink wrap from the tote. One of the items in the base is the baseball bat that was inside the home. Coons has reviewed all the photos. He says they accurately depict the house on the day of the shooting. Lori will now be shown the photos. Well, this will take a bit. Coons explained how the items are taken to evidence and how they are documented, assigned, a number, etc. Oh, so chain of custody. Oh. Everything is photographed. Coons says he wears gloves when collecting evidence. They use them and will change them to not transfer blood, etc. The crime scene techs will photograph the items, change gloves, place the evidence in envelopes, and then move them to the next item.
Okay.
Do you recognize all those photos?
Yes, I do.
Do they accurately depict 5531 South Four Peaks Place, both before and during and after processing it?
Yes, through various stages of the investigation.
All right, Lori's going to look at the photos too. Trina shows a diagram of the screen again, points out placard number 1. Coons says the items of the evidence were cut out and brought back to the department. Coons says the entire residence is photographed because you don't know at the time what will be relevant or irrelevant. Got to be thorough. Coons says that when they photograph a home, they typically start at the outside. We now see an exterior shot of the home. It's the main entrance, and a piece of yellow crime scene tape stretches from the truck to the front door. Lori objects and says she has not agreed to admit any of these photos. Trina moves to admit the photos. Lori objects to having all of them admitted, says that some of them should not be admitted. The judge asks to look through the photos. All 100 of them, I guess. As the judge reviews the photos, made the jurors stare ahead. One has his eyes closed. Oh no. The after lunch break. Judge has completed reviewing the photos. He will admit the exhibits and say they will assist the jury in visualizing the scene and determining where things were at the scene. The picture of the front of the scene is back on the screen. 2 more exhibits are shown of Alex's pickup truck parked in the driveway. The next 2 exhibits show the front door and a hat on the floor of the front room. Did Alex always lived in Arizona? No, he was visiting Lori, right, in Arizona. Where does Alex live? Does anyone know? Chad is the one who's in Idaho, right? Like, was he just following his sister everywhere she moved or something? The hat has a placard of number 1. We now see a photo of the northwest corner of the room looking south. We see a pair of flip-flops and Charles's body on the floor. So again, we're not going to be able to see these photos. Trina asked Coons to describe the wall with the mirror in the room. Coons described the next photo that shows a hallway in the house that extends to 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. Another photo shows a different angle of the house with Charles's body on the ground. There are multiple angles from inside the house. We now see a close-up photo of the Reebok hat that is on the ground next to number 1 placard. The next photo shows a bullet strike in the baseboard. Another picture is shown that's much closer. You can see the bullet lodge in the baseboard. Part of the baseboard was pulled back so you can see the projective lodge into the wood. The next photo shows a bullet in the hand of someone wearing blue gloves. Trina moves to admit 2 other photos. The baseball bat is marked number 3. Other photos show the fat edge of the bat, not the handle. Coons say they were looking for visible evidence on the bat. He did not observe any. Visibly, he did not see any biological evidence on the bat. Oh, they didn't even see any blood on the bat? Oh, no. Trina moves to admit the actual bat. It is wrapped in plastic. Oh, Alex lived in Arizona. He was a failed stand-up comedian in the Phoenix area. Oh, what is he? Oh, I had no idea. Wait, do we have any footage of him doing stand-up? I know they looked to see how the shots were fired. A shot fired in the chest, went straight through, so the victim was standing. Next bullet went in the abdomen and came out the shoulder, so it hit the hard surface. Yeah, I think that's the one that they said that there was indents on the ground or on the floor. Trina moves to admit the actual bat. It is wrapped in plastic. Item number 4 shown on the screen is a metal projectile from a bullet. It was recovered northeast of Charles Vallow's body. Kuhn says there was some deformation. Oh, deformation. Why did I say like that? Deformation. Can I say deformation? To the projectile. All right, y'all. So I'm going to be ending here. I'm going to be, I gotta go do some stuff. So I'm going to go do some stuff, but I'll be listening to the trial, see if anything interesting happens, and we'll continue covering this case. Yeah. Hopefully, maybe tomorrow we'll listen to the medical examiner's testimony, but tomorrow we do have Koberger's hearing for the Idaho 4 murder. So I definitely will be streaming that. I'm assuming it's going to be a live stream. I'm going to be prioritizing that, and then we will probably jump back and forth between Lori Vallow and I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm probably going to listen to 2 streams at the same time and then take notes of Lori Vallow while I'm listening to Koberger or something. I think we can do that. Yeah. That way we don't miss anything. But again, do you guys want to know the recap of yesterday? We did do a mini recap in the beginning of the stream. We talked about Lori Vallow's demeanor in the courtroom. There were some observers in the courtroom that said that Lori Vallow seemed to get frustrated at times, or she like slammed her notebook down. It was like really loud. However, the microphones didn't pick it up, so I didn't hear it. And then Lori Vallow's cousin talks about Lori Vallow and the history that she had with her, and whether or not the cousin thought that Lori Vallow was fake crying. And then there's just some little jury drama here and there. But yeah, watch the beginning of the stream, get caught up. And like I said, for today's stream, actually, just a little mini recap so you guys know what happened today. For today's stream, it seems like we did have a jury that was dismissed because of employer stuff. That was, I think, juror number 3. For today's focus of the witness testimonies, this is from my perspective, what I think is happening. We had witnesses that testified from the firefighter, paramedic department, the rescue team. There was a captain that testified. And it seems like Lori might be taking the angle that maybe they didn't follow maybe proper protocols. Maybe they could have saved Charles, you know, even though paramedics weren't called until, 37 minutes later after he was shot. But anyways, and then there was also the debate of whether or not Alex Cox, the brother, gave CPR to Charles. So it seems like maybe Lori was, maybe trying to rebut that. No, Alex Cox did give CPR. Maybe you guys are wrong. The witnesses, however, said that they don't think there was any indication that there was CPR done on Alex Cox, especially when you're doing like the chest compressions for the first time and you're doing the first couple or maybe few pumps. You could hear the cracking. So he said that when he started doing the chest compressions, it didn't seem like someone had already done the chest compressions from what he felt. And then there was a captain who also testified as well. Captain who was a firefighter, paramedic, same thing, talking about the protocols and all that. And he also had suspicions that CPR was not done on the victim. And then we heard about the pool comment, how the captain was like leaving the scene and he overheard Lori saying that darn, she wasn't going to be invited to the pool party because of what was going on. And then we had a hot mic of someone saying what into the microphone. Could have been Lori, possibly. And then the lunch break happened. After the lunch break, Nate Eaton, he reported that there was a jury that was being questioned by the judge. This wasn't on camera, though. Apparently, this jury was brought up because the state said the jury was looking on their phone and then shortly afterwards submitted that question. And that was the question that I think was really, sounded really technical. It sounded like they had medical background. It was essentially asking, whether or not like epinephrine could be used, to save Charles, or like maybe other methods. And so the state was saying that they were looking at their phone and then they submitted this question. So the judge asked the jury to come up, and the jury said that he wasn't looking anything up, that he was actually just texting his daughter. And so they told that jury to just shut off the phone. Actually, there was another jury drama, actually, because, well, a little small, tiny jury drama, which is not that big of a deal, but I'm so glad this jury spoke up. The jury spoke up this morning and told the judge that they did see a YouTube video about this case. And the reason why they just remembered it is because yesterday, when they were watching the body cam footage, I guess there was parts of it that looked familiar. The juror said that they had a friend that showed them the video and they don't really remember it. And so, based on that, they continue to keep this jury on the case. So, that's about it for today. I'm sure for the rest of today, we're just going to hear more about the crime scene and about the bullet, the projectile, and all that stuff. And maybe tomorrow they'll get into medical examiner. But like I mentioned, they said this trial was going to have, I don't know, it was going to take like 6 weeks. I feel like we're moving on pretty quickly, in my opinion. But maybe there'll be some witnesses where they'll start to really slow down or take all day to testify. I don't know. But to me, it seems like we're moving pretty quickly. And hopefully it's not going to be 6 weeks. Hopefully it'll be a lot shorter than that. But, we do want them to do a really good job. We want them to be thorough. But, there's a lot of slowdown, with Lori. But I think Lori's doing the best that she could. I'm glad that we're not getting like the complete unhinged batshit back and forth between her and the judge, like with Dara Brooks and the judge that was on that case. Because that was just like, it was just unbearable to watch, honestly. Like, even though the highlights of it were very fucking entertaining and hilarious, but to have to sit through that for trial for weeks on end, like, that's just like, it's just tiring. So, that is it for the day 2 of the Lori Vallow trial. We will continue covering this trial. Not from beginning to end though, because it's too fucking long, and I have other stuff that I want to take care of also. But we definitely will be doing the recaps and all that stuff. So keep an eye out for that. We'll do the live streams, and then tomorrow, like I said, we're going to be covering the Koberger Idaho 4 hearing. I look forward to that. If you guys are not caught up with the Koberger case, we have some videos we posted recently where I recap some of the recent court documents and, stuff that's been happening with that. A lot of motions denied for the defense, and we get a preview of what the defense might be trying to use as their strategy for trial. So I think that's very interesting. However, there's always been this looming cell phone issue that we've heard about since the past year, and I think we're really going to get into the nitty-gritty of that again. I think we're going to revisit that. Whether or not Brian Koberger's phone was following the path that law enforcement said that it was following, and whether or not they're being truthful about that. I don't know. There was an affidavit that came out that called out law enforcement and the prosecutor. And then also Corey Richins, someone in chat just told me that Corey Richins' trial got pushed. So I don't know if that kind of clears my calendar up a little bit. Man. So maybe her trial will be pushed out by a couple months, maybe by next year. I don't know. But if you're not caught up with Corey Richins, I think my most recent video was covering the Corey Richins court documents and all the shit that's been happening with that. She had a fucking diary that they uncovered. She diaried about the night of Eric Richins' death. Again, Corey Richins is accused of murdering her husband by poisoning with fentanyl, and then accused of, doing the whole financial shit, stealing money from him and scamming people, essentially selling them bad homes, and then basically not doing a really good job at balancing her accounts for her businesses, just borrowing a lot of fucking money with high interest loans, not being able to pay back, taking money from other people. So a lot of accusations, thrown at Corey Richins, but that one's a hot mess too. And affairs. I'm like, oh my gosh. If you're not caught up with that, we have a video on that. And then lastly, Donna Adelson. I did do a recap for Donna Adelson as well. So far, Donna Adelson's trial is going to happen in June. So we'll see if that gets delayed. I don't know. That's why when I tell my family when we're planning vacation stuff, I'm like, dude, I don't know. Maybe I can do vacation. Maybe I can't do vacation, because what happens is I have the schedules out for all the court dates, but sometimes like last minute shit will just get moved, right? And I'm all of a sudden free, or I won't be free anymore because if the trial gets pushed to the month afterwards, then, sometimes that fucks with our schedule. But anyways, I hope you guys have a good one. I hope you guys take care. I will see you guys tomorrow. Oh, hell no. I don't want to think about that. The dance room is for dancing for Chad. She would record herself and like, oh. Why did I even read that? Anyways, Sherry, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Daniel, thank you so much. I hope you guys have a good one. I hope you guys take care, and I will see you guys tomorrow. See you guys tomorrow.